Happy Hump Day, everybody. Sean O'Connell Show coming at you on ESPN 700 at 92.1 FM. You're home with the Utes. We've got some Utah announcements to make today. Hall of Famers in the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame. New class announced for 2025. Some very familiar names on that list. Maybe one of the inspirations or the total inspiration for today's start bench cut. We're going to get to that. Sean O'Connell Show is brought to you today and every day by Big Willie Sports Bar in Salt Lake City. Craft food, craft cocktails, incredible pool hall. They are the sports bar. Check them out today, 1717 South Main Street. Tell them OC sent you, and they will hook you up. If you're not listening live, you can always catch us in podcast form. If you haven't, please download the ESPN 700 app. Watch us on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. If you're looking at the YouTube feed right now, you'll see that Gordy Chiesa is here with us. It's a holiday week, and we don't want to miss out on our opportunity to have Gordy Chiesa here in person with us, so we bring him in on a Wednesday right off the top of the show. Gordy, how are you?
Sean, I'm doing fine. Thanks for the invite. I'm looking forward to, with you right now, chopping it up.
38 days until Utah football kicks off against UCLA. Basketball season is right around the corner after that. Hockey season is 40 days beyond that. So 38 days to Utah football means 78 days to Utah Mammoth. And the Utah Jazz obviously gearing up for what we hope is an interesting campaign, although the personnel decisions being made right now look like they'll be making a sincere effort again to get good draft lottery odds. I don't want to focus on that negative stuff, at least in the short term, the here and now. As we get ready for a football countdown, Gordy, when in the NBA is it really like, okay, now it's time in earnest for coaches, for players, for GMs, for front offices, for stadium staff, whatever? When is the line of demarcation where, all right, now we got to start getting ready for the season for real?
The first day after Labor Day. So right now, management is still in the office as far as trying to finalize the 1 or 2 trades left, and more importantly, just the free agency, where there's about 10 players out there that are all trying to be signed. But everyone else in the NBA after Summer League now, they literally rest. Rest means where they're still going to train, but not with their own coaches. They'll train on their own. But after Labor Day, that's when it really starts as far as everyone's back, quote, in the practice facility, and they're getting ready to for training camp. And for the NBA, training camp starts on Tuesday, September 30th. So that's when everyone's going to be here. And the way the rules are, you can have 21 players in training camp. Then you have to cut down to 15 standard contracts and 3 two-way agreements. So usually speaking, there's be roughly between 19 to 21 guys in camp, and then they cut down from there, and you just never know. So a lot of times, so-and-so is going to camp without a guaranteed contract, but that means nothing. If you can outplay somebody within reason, suddenly what the better teams will do is that they'll cut some of those guys and eat the contract.
When you're talking about those guys on the two-way deals, right, what is the office and coaching staff perception of most of those guys? I mean, practice squad guys in the NFL it's not that they're not valued, but you kind of develop a reputation. You're a practice squad guy. You're cannon fodder. You're an extra body. There's not oftentimes like real looks that will afford you the opportunity to step up onto the main roster, or will afford you the opportunity certainly to get a starting position. Now, just like in everything else, pro sports probably are the best meritocracy we have right now in the U.S. job market, but it's not without politics. So what does that look like when we're talking about these young two-way players?
Well, the two-way players is that they're eligible for the varsity, meaning the NBA roster. They can play in 50 games during the season. So you're a two-way player. Here's the first, and here's your contract. You're going to make $636,435. Now, those guys are eligible for 50 games with that contract on an NBA roster. However, if they really showcase themselves and play really well, a lot of times some of the players that are roster players don't have a guaranteed contract, and then January 7th, they're cut. And these guys then suddenly go from a two-way contract into a standard NBA contract. And that's what makes it so beautiful, where a guy worked hard, he earned his economic value of it, and he performed. And generally speaking, the better teams that usually win, they have many guys at the bottom of their roster that outperform their contract. So when they have a chance to play, they get in there and they really outplay a lot of times guys that are making 5 times more than they do because of their energy level. They want to prove themselves, and they're let down by the people who have guaranteed money. It's really interesting phenomenon in that there's nothing like it, Sean. There's nothing like somebody that's earned something outplays somebody that's a hot shot because that player wants it more.
So we talked yesterday about some of the personnel moves that have happened in the NBA. We talked about Damian Lillard settling down, and as we gear up towards the countdown to football is happening in earnest. The countdown for basketball, as Gordy just said, will happen after that Labor Day weekend. When you're talking about the expectations that you can help set for yourself in an offseason, the Jazz are at the wrong end of the spectrum right now. Teams like Oklahoma City, Boston has been kind of at the top and now maybe a little bit shakier. We'll see how it goes. The New York Knicks have, I think, very, very high expectations for themselves. Who is entering the conversation this year in the NBA, maybe that hasn't been part of it in the last couple of years?
Houston Rockets.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, Rockets. Sean, they won 50 games last year, and they've done a spectacular job as far as upgrading their roster and also player development. So they went 50 games. Kevin Durant, they added from the Suns. They added Clint Capella from the Hawks. They added Josh Okogie from the Hornets. They added Dorian Finney-Smith from the Lakers. They re-signed Freddie VanVleet, who we all love. They re-signed Steven Adams. They gave a mega contract to a young prospect that's very good. His name is Jabari Smith. They re-signed former Jazz man Jeff Green. So Jeff Green's a classic example. You stay in shape, you're 39 years old, you can make $3.63 million a year to be under the bench and be almost like a quasi-mentor to young guys, and they re-signed Aaron Holiday. Plus, they have the 2 young standouts, Alfaron Shagun and also Amin Thompson. So they have done a tremendous job. So those guys are going to be very, very good. Also, in the Western Conference would be the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets, they won 50 games last year. Nikola Jokic is once-in-a-lifetime player. You could say he's in the top 10 of all time. Last year, the Nuggets, 15-32. They beat the Clippers 4-3. They beat the T-Wolves 4-3, and they lose to the Thunder 4-3. So they added Jonas Valanciunas, who we know is absolutely a inside scorer and a resident bully. They also added Cam Johnson from the Nets, and they also added Tim Hardaway from the Pistons. So they've gotten dramatically better quickly. How about one team in the East? The team in the East that we're all watching is the Atlanta Hawks. They won 40 games last year. The coach is former Jazz head coach Quinn Snyder. They added a former Jazz player, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, from the T-Wolves, who played very well for them. They added Kristaps Porzingis from the Knickerbockers. They added Luke Kennard from the Grizzlies. They added Caleb Houston from the Magic. And then they drafted at number 23, Asen Anuel from University of Georgia. So they could move up in the standings. Now, the question is right now, can the Cavaliers, who last year won 64 games, people forget, but they lost in the playoffs, can those guys recapture that what they had and try to win the Eastern Conference? The Celtics aren't going to cooperate. They're going to fight back. And then the vastly underrated Pacers. Pacers last year was a fun story. Those guys played so hard. And now with Halliburton out for the season, we'll see if they can recapture their magic.
Is the formula different in the NBA this year than it has been, I won't say last year because nothing changes that much in a single year. But, you go back 10 years and you had to have 3 All-Stars if you were hoping to win a championship. it doesn't feel like that's exactly how teams are doing it now. But what is the formula that these GMs are trying, for the most part, to follow in order to put together a championship team? You got to have star talent. You got to have at least a superstar, I think. But you tell me.
Yeah, right. Your point's well taken. Is that you need two really all-star type talents that become players, but the better teams have quality depth. That's when you're successful, because those guys, there's so many injuries during the year and including in the playoffs. So I just described there the world champion OKC Thunder as far as their unbelievable depth. So with the star players in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and in Jalen Williams, so both those guys, one's MVP, other guy's All-Pro, and then they have Chet Holmgren, who's an all-star in the making. But it's the other guys that got them over the hurdle: Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Hartenstein. Those are all the guys, Kevin Williams. Those are all the guys that got them to the championship round and were able to contribute tremendously. So the way the NBA is now is that, yes, you do need star power, but you've got to also have in your roster guys that play a certain role and they excel in that. They excel in that job description, and they overperform.
Do you need a guy who's, what's the right way to phrase this? Do you need a guy on your bench who would be starting if he was playing for a lesser team? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
We saw this for years, go back far enough. James Harden's role when it was him, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant all on one roster in Oklahoma City. He was the sixth man not because he was incapable of starting or not because he wasn't good enough to be a starter. It just made more sense there for him. Do you need that guy, a guy who's capable of being a starter, maybe even someday capable of being an all-star, who's a bench player for you?
Yes, you do. So that would be Alex Caruso from the Thunder and Cason Wallace. So next year with the Thunder, they have a day of reckoning where Cason Wallace would start on most teams. And now with the Thunder, he's come off the bench and he's very valuable. But they got to pay him next year. And the question is, how much can they afford him? And if you do pay him, will he accept his role as far as still off the bench? Because right now he's entering his third season in the NBA, coming up right now, 2 months from now. In Jazz basketball, just think about it, Sean. When the Jazz were a playoff-type team, they'd off the bench Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles off the bench. And those guys played in that role absolutely exceptional. One guy became the sixth man of the year, and Joe Ingles was the runner-up, and they anchored the second unit into really outplaying often other teams' first unit. So, yes, you do need guys that are bench players that really could be starters on most teams. The Pacers, T.J. McConnell, guys like that. When they come into a game, they're difference makers because they change the tempo of the flow of the game, and also they energize their teammates that are so much struggling sometimes. They give them that extra step on time, on target passes. When they score points also, it's for the whole group, it's uplifting.
Gordy Chiez is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll have him for the whole hour to start the show today. It's a holiday week, so we're off on Thursday, Pioneer Day, which means we do our best to get the most out of Gordy on a holiday week.
But Sean, tomorrow is also Pioneer Day, but also in Jazz basketball, it's sort of an interesting day also.
Tell me why.
Because it's Karl Malone's 62nd birthday.
Karl Malone's a Pioneer Day birthday guy?
July 24th.
Actually, I think I knew that. Wasn't there stories that he was a little confused when he first showed up why they were having fireworks on his birthday?
And a parade. and the great, unfortunately, late Frank Layden always told a story about that. When we drafted Karl, when he came here, I told him they'd have a parade. He's so excited. The fans that the Jazz drafted Karl in 1985. They threw a parade for him. Hey, whatever.
Whatever makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
Karl Malone, he shares a birthday with my nephew.
Okay.
My nephew, 24th. Easy for me to remember. Even though I always remember the birthday, I still never get the gift there on time. Like if you ask me any day of the year, when is your nephew Eamon's birthday? I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's on the 24th of July. Does that mean he's going to be able to open a present for me tomorrow? No, because I am a procrastinator and I never get it right. But
Sean, also, tomorrow's a Pioneer Day, but in New England, I'm going to ask you and James. The Boston Marathon is always in April. What day is that in Massachusetts? It's a state holiday.
don't know. What is it?
Does James know?
James, do you know the state holiday that the Boston Marathon is run on in New England? Marathon Day?
Well, besides that, yeah.
Minuteman Day?
Patriots Day, right?
That's exactly right. Patriots Day.
Patriots Day.
So, Sean, we should look
I
up.
should have known that. That's the name of the Mark Wahlberg movie.
Okay.
What a fool.
No,
What a
that's right.
fool I am.
No. Sean, so we should look up possibly what other state holidays are around America
Ooh.
that no one else knows about. Because, back east, like Sean, yesterday I said to a colleague of mine, because he asked me, Gordy, what days you're on this week? I said, I'm always on Tuesday and Thursday, but tomorrow, Wednesday. And the guy said to me, why? I said, tomorrow's Pioneer Day. And he was on the phone. What is that? He's typical Sean, typical New Yorker, where,
right.
they live in the 5 boroughs only. That's it. The rest of the world doesn't matter.
Okay, we're doing this.
Okay.
All right. Alaska Day, October 18th. The formal transfer of Alaska from Russia to the United States. That's something we should all be celebrating.
We should be. No, absolutely.
We should getting Alaska from Russia and the Louisiana Purchase, the best deals that ever happened in the history of humankind.
And Sean, Alaska became a state, if I remember right, by my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. McGillicuddy, had that Alaska became a state with Hawaii in 1959.
That's right.
If I remember right.
That, to me, that's crazy because my dad, born in 1955, was born when there were not 50 states. You were born, Gordy, when there were not 50 states in the Union yet.
Yes. It just shows you how crazy it is.
How old were you in 1959?
9.
Yeah, that's wild.
9. But I seem much older.
So the flag looked different
Yeah,
when my dad was born than it does now.
Correct. What at a holiday? I'm interested. This is intriguing me.
Okay. Alaska Day is on October 18th. Now the nation celebrates Juneteenth. That's something that has been more traditionally celebrated in Texas and in the South. Pioneer Day, of course, is our own. San Jacinto Day, April 21st, Texas holiday commemorating the Battle of San Jacinto, which secured Texas's independence from Mexico.
Yes.
So Texas Independence Day. West Virginia Day, June 20th.
Okay.
West Virginia's separation from Virginia during the Civil War. Are they still celebrating that in West Virginia? We should have looked this up before we went to Big 12 Media Days. This would have been a phenomenal trivia question to ask the West Virginia kids. Bunker Hill Day, Massachusetts holiday commemorating the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot. Cesar Chavez Day, not a federal holiday. It is observed in California.
California, sure, right, and rightfully so.
Yeah, Statehood Day in Hawaii celebrates Hawaii's admission as a U.S. state, which, of course, did happen, as you just mentioned, in 1959.
So, besides Sean O'Connell's show, we're also teaching everybody, listeners right now, about holidays and about geography. I
like that. August 15th, by the way, is Hawaii Day. So if you want to take a little trip to, the island state, go out, celebrate Hawaii. I would like to know how sincere the celebrations are for Statehood Day.
And also, Sean, August 15th, for anybody that's Catholic, is a Catholic holiday as far as Assumption Day. So that's part of it, Hawaii also, partly.
All right. Love it. Wow. Gordy's steering us off course. You know how much I love that? Because usually it's me who's diverting things.
No, but I want to make sure that you know about Pioneer Day and
Patriots Day.
And Patriots Day. Okay. I know, Sean, Sunday you're going to be in the Boston Marathon, you and James. You guys are going to train together.
I'll tell you.
You're going to Boston Marathon, and we'll be cheering for you at Heartbreak Hill.
One of the wildest things when I see marathon runners and I see triathletes, right, is the incredibly wide range of physical builds and ages. Because I look at a marathon and I'm just like, I don't know that I could ever do it. I'm sure if I put in enough training, there's no part of my brain that's like, yes, I'm willing to make the sacrifices to train even to get ready for a marathon, right? And take that for a triathlon, especially an Ironman length triathlon, multiply it by 100. You will never find me in one of those. And then when you actually, go to the race course, I used to live on 11th Avenue, and the Salt Lake City Marathon would run past my house. It was awesome. We would get out there. We'd set up lawn chairs. My dog would, bark at people as they ran by. We'd cheer for people running by. It was fantastic. But you see, people that are built like my grandma running the Salt Lake City Marathon. You see people that are tall and skinny. You see people that are short and fat. You see people that are 16 years old. You see people that are 96 years old running this thing. It's incredible, Gordy, because everyone could pull it off except me, I guess.
Well, again, it's a good challenge for you to start training.
Me and James. James, are you willing to commit to running the Salt Lake Marathon and attempting to qualify for the Boston Marathon? Because Gordy's trying to put that on our plate.
Oh, absolutely. Can I say St. George instead? I think you can qualify in St. George too, Gordy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you can.
Is the St. George Marathon is one of the toughest marathons in the country, though?
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
it has a reputation for being a very, very difficult marathon.
It's mostly so my aunt has run it 10 times, maybe more than that. She's amazing. And she's doing. Have you heard of? Now I can't remember the name. Have you heard of where they run up and climb? They don't climb a mountain, but they run up a trail on a mountain like 20 times in certain places, and that's the equivalent of Mount Everest.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of that?
I've heard of people doing equivalent things to Mount Everest, like climbing the stairs of a building enough times or whatever.
She's doing that, and there's one in one of the ski resorts has one of those later this month. Anyway, this year is the 50th anniversary of the St. George Marathon. Did you guys know that?
I didn't know that.
So maybe this would be the year to do it.
Are we just doing a full day of trivial facts on the Sean O'Connell
Another
show?
fact, I'm getting my mind.
Trivial facts with Gordy.
No, I'm racing. My mind's racing right now, if you get the pun, is that a marathon is 26.2 miles, Sean, and a half marathon is 13.1, and then a 10K is 6.2. And Sean, my favorite race when I was yesteryear used to be 8K, which is 4.97 miles. And so those are my favorite races. And those are the metrics for anybody that wants to be a runner. Now, also, in part of your base as far as training, let's put it back into both the NFL and to the NBA, is that you've got to have a base as far as conditioning. So a lot of times, I'm not saying you should run a marathon if you're you're a professional athlete, but it does help as far as training. Just generally speaking, is to run somewhat long distance, meaning we'll say 2 or 3 miles, and that gives you a base as far as conditioning, and then you change then as far as your fast twitch, as far as stop and go running, etc. U-turns, we call it escape running. It's all part of being an athlete as far as changing direction.
James, I was just looking this up. You can, if you do 10 trips to the top of the tram at Snowbird, and then you go up the Peruvian lift. They have a chair lift called Peruvian up there as well. 10 trams and then 1 Peruvian, and that's the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest.
That's the one. So that's what my aunt's doing that on July 31st. So she's attempted a few times, she said, and this is the one that she's like, I'm determined to actually make it up. Because a lot of the people, as you probably imagine, don't end up doing it the amount of times to get to Everest, right? So they end up having to stop somewhere in the middle. So that's what she's experienced. So this time she's determined to do it. So shout out to Aunt Kim.
Well, Aunt Kim, also, James, if I was you, part of your family clan, you should be training with her then to encourage her. So James, if
where you at, James?
Yeah, James. If this was Sean's family, he'd be right there training with them.
Yeah, if anyone in my family, in my family was crazy enough to try to do an Everest equivalent,
so
I would absolutely.
Here's what I found out. You can actually set up lawn chairs and watch from like the summit area.
Yeah,
and you can ride the gondola back and forth with them. So that and also young baby. I I can't
Isn't
train.
that nice? Isn't that nice?
Sorry, my baby's not even 2 months old. He needs me at home.
The infant child is the greatest excuse to get out of anything you don't want to do. Hey, we're having a family dinner. You got to come to. No, infant baby. Got to
Germs,
Got to keep
protection.
you smelly germ people away from the child.
So yeah, I had considered going up and watching her husband. That's what he's done. Is he'll sit on the grass area at the summit and then ride the gondola back and forth with her. I'm like, that might sound good, but then my wife's like, I need you home. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Perfect. You have the double whammy, because if you have a baby, and you can use the baby as an excuse, but then sometimes people be like, oh, come on, your wife can handle it. But if the wife has actually told you, no, you don't get the day off for this, that you got the double whammy.
Yeah, sorry. Nothing I can do.
You've got infant child and the exhausted wife. That's a double whammy excuse.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I would maybe next year, if she does it again, I'll watch and ride the gondola. So that's a way to feel like you're participating, Gordy, without actually having to train and do the climbing Everest thing.
So, Sean, he's describing many NFL, NBA players that don't last as far as the ability to train, because training is everything. Now, a lot of times people, unfortunately, the type A personalities where they overtrain.
Sure.
So it's like this unbelievable fine line where you want to train sensibly at your position of the certain skills you need, but you don't overtrain, because then suddenly your body breaks down.
That's one of the interesting conversations you'll have as an athlete who is retired or thinking about retirement or whatever. The question in a lot of these cases is not about whether or not you can handle competition. It's about, can you handle what it takes to get ready for the competition, right? I mean, you hear guys that age in the NFL, and the quarterbacks will say, man, I don't mind the games. I don't even mind the grind of the season. I like that. It's the fact that I have to start getting ready for next season in January. That's what takes people away from the game. And basketball, obviously, that's a much longer season, takes up a huge chunk of your year. So your team gets eliminated from the playoffs. You take the one Caribbean vacation, and if you're 38 years old, you know it better than I, Gordy. You better get your butt back in the gym before July if you want to be ready for the NBA season to come.
Which makes it so interesting with LeBron James. So LeBron is right now, he'll be 41 years old this December 30th. All right. So he'll be entering his 23rd season. So just think about it, 23 years at a high level.
Yeah.
And LeBron made last year second-team All-NBA, second team. It just shows you how difficult it is. And I had the privilege to coach John and Carl, and John played 19 years old with the Jazz, and Carl played 18 with the Jazz, one with the Lakers. And so I saw those guys at Stockton played till age 41. And so Carl played till age 40. Chris Paul's playing right now until he's 40 right now. But these are so few guys that still can play at a high level.
Well, and we've said it many times, the superlatives for LeBron James, they all apply. At 40, 41 years of age, he's not just hanging in the NBA. He's not just a guy who you can justify putting on your roster. He's still a top 15, top 20 player unequivocally. Some nights he looks like he's a top 5 player still in the NBA. And he's been doing it longer than, 2 and 3 year guys, 2 and 3 year veterans in the league have even been alive. I mean, there's a lot of guys in the NBA that are 19, 20, 21 years old. LeBron's been in the league longer than they've been on planet Earth.
So that's Ace Bailey.
That's insane.
So Ace Bailey, his birthday is August 13th. He's born August 13th, 2006. So
that's so crazy.
So put it in context.
Oh, that makes
so
me...
Ace, yeah, no, exactly. It makes you look. You feel old. I feel ancient.
I graduated college in 2006.
Okay, so Ace Bailey. So Ace Bailey
was born after I graduated college.
That's correct. So put it in context. So if you're a Jazz fan right now, and how good Ace is going to be, the answer is he's ultra talented. However, let's temper some of our enthusiasm only because he's so young. And the NBA, like the NFL, it's a man's league. That's what it is. It's nothing personal against the young fellas, nothing against them. But you've got to be tough physically and mentally and an element of spiritually to perform. And by the way, do it at rapid speeds. And by the way, you're going to get hit a lot of times, and you got to bounce back off the floor and play and compete.
All right. Gordy Chiesa is in studio with us. He'll be here for another half hour. We promised that we were going to do pizza topping, start, bench, cut. So I'm going to put it out there. I went with the 3 most popular pizza orders in the United States of America. All right. Start one, bench one, cut one. You can only do one. Obviously, we all like it when you throw everything on a pizza. But these are the 3 most popular pizzas that you can order in the United States of America. Start one, bench one, cut one. Pepperoni, sausage, plain cheese. Start one, bench one, cut one. Gordy's going to think about that while we go to break. He'll tell you his answer. James will do the same thing. I'll tell you how I would make my order as we start, bench, cut. And then I'll give you the Utah football start, bench, cut as well after the break. But before we get to a break, I keep telling you have to have a person, you have to have a hookup on everything these days, all right? You got to have a roofing guy. You got to have a window guy. You got to have a lawn care person. You got to have the plumber that you trust. Very few of us take that to the necessary level and say, well, what about someone I trust with my health? What about someone or a place I can go that's going to make sure I am at my optimal level of performance? We're joking about this Everest equivalent thing. If you really had to do it, could you? The answer for most of us is probably no. Time to get back in shape. Time to get back to our optimal physical condition. And it might take you getting your hormones level balanced out in order to make that happen. 801-878-9976. Save that number in your phone. That is the Steel Vault in the heart of Holiday, Premier Medical Spa that could take care of every aspect of men's health, from skin care to your deepest hormone level issues. They've got a solution for all of it. You can book a consultation online at steelvault.com, 20% off all their services if you mention ESPN 700 and the Sean O'Connell Show. 801-878-9976. The hair that's fallen out, don't deal with that anymore. The excessive wrinkles and frown lines, you don't have to suffer with that anymore. That spare tire around your waist, I got one of those. What am I doing? Let's get get our hormones level optimized. Let's get back to the best version of ourselves. Let's turn back the clock to where we're at least feeling like we're Ace Bailey's age, even if we're not actually Ace Bailey's age. 801-878-9976, thesteelvault.com. That's STEELE, steelvault.com. Click that big book now button. We got another 30 minutes or so of Gordy Chiesa, and then Phil Steele is going to join us to talk about his college football season preview, the Bible, the big guide that we're all getting on our bookshelves. That's coming on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92 on FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. All right, I did it. I just hit send at Real OC Sports. I was reluctant. I was reticent to actually put the start bench cut for Utah football out here, but inspired by the news that Nate Orchard is heading into the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame this year, 2025. The mayor of Sac Lake City, we're doing start bench cut pass rushers from the Power 5 era, from the Pac-12/Power 5 era of Utah football. Start bench cut. Start one, bench one, cut one. Nate Orchard, Bradley Anai, Hunter Dimmick. There's a lot of names that you can't even put on the list to get to those three, and good luck trying to find who you're cutting or even benching off of that list. Start one, bench one, cut one. Nate Orchard, Bradley Anai, Hunter Dimmick, 877-353-0700 or at Real OC Sports. That's how you participate in our start bench cut every day through summertime. The other start bench cut today, as promised, Gordy, we're going to do the pizza toppings. Pepperoni, sausage, or just the plain cheese. Who you starting, who you benching, who you cutting?
I'm starting with cheese, benching sausage, and cutting pepperoni.
Oh, Gordy is cutting pepperoni.
And Sean, remember, I'm a New Jerseyite New Yorker.
Uh-huh.
And so pizza is part of the culture.
Absolutely it
to
is.
say the least. And remember, New York-style pizza, you know when it's really good, when it's easy to fold.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, unlike other people, the Chicago people, like Chicago-style pizza.
You got to have like a knife and a fork to eat Chicago-style pizza, probably.
So, New York pizza, there's not, and again, in New York City, there's so many pizza I call joints. Like I don't exaggerate, every block and a half is some pizza joint.
That's right.
It's the most amazing thing.
And you could buy them all by the slice, which is something that, I mean, we've got a couple spots here in town where you could buy by the slice, but it's not ubiquitous like it is in New York City. Wow, Gordy Chiesa has cut pepperoni. Breaking news on the Sean O'Connell Show. James, start bench cut. Those are the three most popular pizza orders in the United States of America, by the way. Pepperoni, sausage, cheese, and then mushrooms is next.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I would have guessed those would be the top three. I would not have guessed mushroom as the fourth. Gordy, you have shocked and partially offended me with what you've cut the last 2 days, cutting pistachios and pepperoni, two of my most favorite things in the nut and pizza categories. I'm starting pepperoni and benching sausage, cutting cheese, plain cheese.
Yeah. I'm also cutting plain cheese. I'm starting sausage. I'm benching pepperoni. Pepperoni is, for me, it belongs on the bench. It's one that you're not ever upset when it comes in the game. You're just like, oh, cool, pepperoni. Yeah, I enjoy pepperoni. If like this happens actually all the time when I'm on the road doing the broadcast. We get off air at midnight, 1 o'clock. We haven't had food for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours while we've been broadcasting. And you go out to the production trucks behind the venue, and there's a folding table. Invariably, there's a folding table with about 15 boxes, 20 boxes, right? And you start popping those bad boys open. And you're never mad if pepperoni shows up.
Well, maybe Gordy is because he's cutting it.
Yeah, if all that's left is pepperoni, you're just like, all right, cool, I'll take it. You're excited if there's Hawaiian. You're excited if there's sausage and onion or something like that. I do get a little bothered, though, if the only thing left is plain cheese. So I'm cutting cheese, I'm starting sausage, and I'm benching pepperoni. 877-353-0700.
We're only cutting cheese in the studio. Don't worry. It's not going to get through to your cars, folks.
Oh, dad joke from James. He's a dad now, so he gets to do that. James, I'm going to let you ponder and think on the football one. Start one, bench one, cut one. Nate Orchard, Bradley Anai, Hunter Dimmick, the pass rushers of the Power 5 era for Utah football. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. That's how you participate. Back to our NBA conversation because we have our resident NBA guru, Gordy Chiesa. Gordy, we were talking during the break, as long as you're talking start, bench, cut, there are teams that are trying to figure out their depth for this approaching season. And there are players that are still available, free agents that are awaiting a phone call, figuring out where the next home is going to be. Which of those guys are actually going to still make a difference? Because, you get to the slimmer pickings.
Yeah, so right now there's two guys that are backing up the whole NBA. They are Josh Giddey from the Chicago Bulls, who's a really multi-talented point guard. wingman, restricted free agent, and Malcolm Broderick of the Wizards is also backing up people. And then a power forward stretch from the Golden State Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga. So those three guys are the dominoes going to fall. Hopefully, again, showing it's like an unwritten law, almost like. Usually, the first week of August, that's probably the latest where everything is settled. Usually speaking, with the outlier being an exception. So Josh Giddey, Malcolm Broderick still out there, Jonathan Kuminga of the Warriors. And that's why, and there's a lot of Warrior fans from North Cal that live in the Salt Lake City area, and the Warriors are really a tremendous franchise. However, they've been passive right now because they're all waiting for Kuminga to see what they do. They don't want to bid on a player that's it's an asset already on their team. They're going to wait till someone gives that player an offer. Then they have 48 hours to match the offer or move on, or have a sign and trade option where they work with the agent. They'll sign him to what the new team wants, and they try to trade that player to that team and get back some sort of asset that's agreeable. So that's what they're going to try to do. Other guys that are out there that could help some teams would be Al Horford, from the Celtics, is probably going to sign with the Golden State Warriors relatively soon. He'll give them an extra big guy as far, even though he's aging, he's still an effective player. And also Precious Achiuwa from the Knickerbockers, who has value. He'll be signing with someone next week. And the last guy from the Warriors also could be signing is Gary Payton, who's a good off-the-bench, versatile defensive player, and former Jazz man Alec Burks, off the bench for a playoff-type team. He'd have him right now. They're going to move on from him. He'll be available. So those guys, let's watch them. And then the lightning rod of this generation, Russell Westbrook's out there also. So Westbrook was going to sign with probably a contender with a minimum contract, which next year is basically, for a 10-year veteran, would be $3.63 million. And so Westbrook, who helped the Nuggets be highly competitive, will probably go to a different team now. So those are the guys that are out there. Let's all watch how it plays out.
Gordy Chiesa in studio with us for another 15 or so minutes. We'll take a break here. When we come back, I want to pick his brain about a current article on ESPN.com. All 30 NBA teams' biggest roster mistakes since 2020. I'll tell you what the Utah Jazz biggest mistake is, according to Zach Cram, who wrote the author for ESPN. We'll get Gordy Chiesa's thoughts on that and his list and more on the Sean O'Connell Show. Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. If you're in Orem this week, make sure you stop by Orem Toyota for a chance to win $5,000 in cash. Our next giveaway is tomorrow on Pioneer Day. Take a selfie with a red tag vehicle, tag yourself and the dealership, then go to ESPN700sports.com to register. That's your chance to win $5,000 in cash. Gordy Chiesa for a couple more minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. All right, Gordy, I referenced this. ESPN has an article about the biggest mistakes that NBA teams have made personnel-wise since 2020. And Zach Cram, the author of the article, puts them in order of their significance, meaning in order of how harmful it was to the team. For example, the number 30 problem, small-scale problems, he characterizes these, Cleveland Cavaliers declining Isaiah Hartenstein's qualifying offer back in 2021. He says it was a mistake, but obviously Cleveland, things are working out pretty nicely for them. The Utah Jazz come in at number 26 on his list. So, again, not a huge mistake, according to Zach Cram, but what do you think he put down as the Jazz' biggest mistake since 2020?
Letting Donovan Mitchell go.
Which is one you could make a very strong and easy case for. He says the biggest mistake is not trading Lauri Markkanen in 2023-2024.
Okay, to the Golden State Warriors, who was interested in him as far as that. I'm going to offer a different viewpoint, alternative. I'm glad he's here because he's an all-star, and he's going to be he's going to play very well for the Jazz this season because he's healthy. I'm leaning more to. We live in this market. I'm leaning more towards Donovan Mitchell, who's became All-Pro.
I mean,
All-Pro.
What Donovan Mitchell has been in Cleveland, obviously, is something that you wish you had on this Utah Jazz roster. And yeah, you could have maximized trade value for Lauri Markkanen after he won Most Improved Player and was, an all-star. But again, I think I fall on your side of this one and say it's nice to have Lauri Markkanen here on a team that's going to need some veteran talent to help these young guys develop. The number 25 mistake on his list is also Jazz adjacent. Biggest mistake for the Charlotte Hornets, signing Gordon Hayward to a 4-year, $121 million deal back in 2020, he says. So that's the Charlotte Hornets' big mistake. Interesting. I mean, James took umbrage with some of these mistakes that he cited, but both you guessed the number one mistake he's got on the list, Gordy, and I think a lot of NBA fans would feel the same way about the biggest mistake that has happened really in the NBA personnel-wise since 2020. That was this year's Dallas Mavericks gaffe in trading Luka.
Right, Luka Doncic goes from the Dallas Mavericks. He's a first-team All-Pro, and he goes to the Lakers, and they're ecstatic to have him, a young superstar player they can build around. I wrote down three of the things that were interesting this last 5 years as far as errors of judgment. The Clippers let Shai Gilgeous-Alexander go to the OKC Thunder, and he became the MVP of the league and also first-team All-Pro. So, example, to the listeners right now on ESPN Radio 700, this year's first-team NBA was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic. So the Clippers let the MVP of the league go. They had him as far as a rookie on their team, and he went to the Thunder. Also, Tyrese Halliburton left the Kings to go to the Pacers. That was an error of judgment. And the last one was when the Dallas Mavericks let Jalen Brunson go from Dallas to Knickerbockers, and Jalen Brunson this year made third-team All-NBA. So we're talking the top 15 players of this season in the NBA. Those are the three guys that were errors by their former teams.
Gordy, you have a list for us today?
Yeah, this list today. And later on for the listeners, I'm going to put Sean on the spot about an NFL question, which is sort of segue to this. Here we go.
All right.
NBA regular season career assist leaders of all time leaders of assist. What's an assist makes, Sean, three people happy. 1, the scorer. 2, the passer. 3, the head coach. Here's a list of the top 12 all-time NBA pass distributors. Number 12, Andre Miller, Sean, the Utah standout, is the 12th all-time leading assist man in the NBA with 8,524. He played 17 years. Number 11, Gary Payton, assists total, 8,966. Number 10, Isaiah Thomas, 9,061. Number 9, Oscar Robinson, 9,887 dimes. Number 8, Russell Westbrook, 8th all-time. He played by NBA right now for 17 years, 9,925. Number 7, Magic Johnson, 10,141 assists, which comes to 11.2 assists per game, which is incredible. Number 6, Mark Jackson, 10,334 dimes. Number 5, Steve Nash, 10,335. Number 4, he plays for the Lakers. He's involved in many all-time lists. LeBron James is 4th all-time in assists with 11,584 in 22 spectacular seasons. Number 3, he's the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks as we speak, Jason Kidd, 12,091. Number 2, just signed with the Clippers, Chris Paul, 12,499. He just finished his 20th season and the number 1 player of all time for the most assists ever. He retired back in 2003, and so his record now is still held up for over 22 years. 22 years, John Stockton's record has held. He played for the Jazz for 19 incredible seasons. His total was 15,806 assists, which comes to 10.5 assists per game. Thus, that's my list of the top 12 players of all times that would pass Happy. Quickly, other sports records that Sean and I talked about by individual that won't be broken. In baseball, Cal Ripken's incredible consecutive games played with 2,632 games played in a row. Pete Rose, career hit total, 4,256. Ted Williams, back in 1941, batted .406 for the season. And Joe DiMaggio, also in 1941, 56-game hitting streak. Those records probably won't be broken. So, Sean, here's the football question for you. Career rushing yards. Will anybody ever beat Emmitt Smith's record of 18,355?
Man, I have a hard time seeing it, Gordy, for multiple reasons. 15 years at running back. Nobody plays 15 years at running back in the NFL anymore. And obviously the game is different now where everyone is so pass happy and a lot of offense is generated through the passing game. So where Jerry Rice's records, I think, are all vulnerable, Emmitt Smith, 18,000-plus yards, and all those touchdowns. It's going to be hard to see anyone beat those, I think.
How about possibly Derrick Henry?
Man, where's he at right now?
19. He's age 31.
Derrick Henry.
Right? I mean, it's possible.
Could he? He's got, man.
So Eric Smith.
Derrick Henry is 7,000 yards behind Emmitt Smith. He'd have to play till he was almost 40 in order to get that. But he's 265 pounds. He is the hammer, not the nail. That's the problem with a lot of running backs, right? You get smashed because you're the nail. You're the smaller guy. Defensive tackles, linebackers, defensive ends hitting you. Derrick Henry is as big as everyone except for interior defensive linemen in the NFL. I could see it. All right, Gordy.
18,355 Emmitt Smith.
You know another stat that's never going to be broken, even though it is a more pass-happy league right now? Sacks. Bruce Smith has 200 career sacks. 200. Nobody's touching that. You'd have to play for a long time. Quarterbacks are better at getting the ball out of their hand. There's just no way anyone could do it. And by the way, there were like probably 50 of those Bruce Smith sacks that now would not count because they would be penalties for roughing the passer, right? Going high, taking dudes' heads off, horse collar tackles, things like that. I think that's one of the most unbreakable records in the NFL. 200 sacks for Bruce Smith.
And that's the beauty of sports, where every generation there's incredible talent that are always chasing the record books. So we've listed today baseball and we won football, and in basketball with John Stockton, incredible assist record of all time. And also John, for a reference point, also has the record for most ever steals. Yes, Sean, that thievery is legal in the United States.
Gordy Chiesa gave us a full hour of his time, and we always appreciate him for it. Thank you so much, Gordy, for being here.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out.
Hot lunch is happening right now on the Sean O'Connell Show. The lunch special today is a grilled steak salad from Big Willie's. Head down there to 1717 South Main. This thing is perfectly grilled steak, some tortilla chip strips, a little bit of pico de gallo, fresh lettuce, jalapeno cilantro dressing. It smells oh so delightful. And yeah, also the cheese crumbles on top of there. Yes, I will be eating this, James. It's healthy, so I can eat the whole thing without feeling guilty, which means I'm not sharing with you. Sorry, but also not sorry.
All right, whatever you say, boss.
That's right.
I
That's
appreciate
right.
you sharing part of it the last couple of days. I should be grateful and not complain. I'm going to do that.
For only 2 more hours, I get to be boss. All right, Phil Steele. Yes, that Phil Steele. You already have the Phil Steele College Football Preview Magazine for 2025. Where does he see the Utes finishing in the Big 12? Could they potentially be a college football playoff team? We check in with the man who publishes the Bible of college football every single summer. Phil Steele next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. He's a freak. Mm-hmm. 3 years, $123 million for a defensive end. The largest non-quarterback deal ever. Yeah, that's $41 million a year. Only quarterbacks make that. Yeah, and they think that Aaron Rodgers is going to fix it for him. He hasn't for the Jets these last couple of years. I know. That's the only kind of Jets fan you can be these days. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Sean O'Connell Show. We are lucky enough to welcome in one of the most important voices in all of college football, Phil Steele, the man who has generated for, 30 years now, the college football preview for your season. The College Football 2025 guide is out now, 350-plus pages of knowledge for your information and edification as a college football junkie. Phil Steele joins the Sean O'Connell Show on your home of the Utes. Phil, welcome. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, Sean. How about yourself?
I'm very happy to have you on. Very excited that we are 38 days away from Utah starting their college football season. And, of course, week 0 comes even before that. You're doing the media junket now, and I know that you're probably already preparing for the 2026 guide. Do you ever slow down, Phil?
I actually, Sean, for the first time in my life, took a 2-week vacation this year. I went to Europe with my daughter for 2 weeks, went to Paris, Venice, Rome, Munich. It was great. Other than that, no, I never slow down. But, it was very unusual this year.
Well, I can tell you on behalf of college football fans everywhere how much we appreciate the effort that you put in to the magazine and the time you do in these interviews and things like that. Let's talk about what you think is going to happen with Utah football this year. I've seen the preview. I'm going to pretend like I didn't for the benefit of our listeners. But, Kyle Whittingham, a lot of people think this is his final ride. The heir apparent Morgan Scalley is a great coach and a great leader and a great recruiter and all those things. It seems like they got whatever was going on back in January worked out. Is it going to be enough to get Utah back into the conference championship picture?
I think it will be this year. When you look at Utah, first of all, the one thing if Whittingham's there and Scally is there, you're going to have a great defense, and they've got the talent on the defense side of the ball. You look at them up front with Logan Fano and the linebacking core with Barton. They're loaded on defense. Now, offense was the problem last year, and a big part of it was Cam Rising. And will he play? Won't he play? And then when he did end up playing mid-season, he had a poor game. By the end of the year, they're starting a fifth-string quarterback the final 2 games. Well, this year I think the quarterback situation's much improved. Bringing in Devin Dampier coming in from New Mexico, who knows the offense. Jason Beck, the offensive coordinator, comes in. And what they did with the individual pieces New Mexico had last year, I had no idea they'd be as productive as they were. So I like those two coming in. And even if Isaac Wilson gets thrown into the mix again, he's no longer a true freshman. He got his feet wet last year, played. So I think they're in much better shape quarterback-wise. You look at the offensive line, Coach Whittingham told me that it's the best offensive line he's had since he's been there, and that's remarkable. He's been there 21 years. It's the strength of the team. I think the wide receiver core is going to be upgraded this year. The running back core looks good, and they're tough at home, and I love the way the schedule plays out. At West Virginia's got a lot of transfers coming in. I think they can you look at BYU, Kansas, Baylor on the road. This is a Utah team that I've got favored in the majority of their games. I haven't favored in 10 of their 12 games this year. So
at least in the conversation by the end of the year for a conference championship, which, of course, it's the standard now. We got spoiled by the late success in the Pac-12 conference, and last year, first year in the Big 12, they were picked to win the league. No preseason poll this year, as you're well aware. And for obvious reasons, the number 1 team ended up like third to last. The last team ended up first in the conference. We were dead wrong about all of our expectations in the Big 12 last year. But if it's Utah and, maybe Baylor, maybe Arizona State, maybe Kansas State, who are the other power players in your mind in the Big 12?
Well, Sean, just like last year, there's a lot of teams that are really in contention for it. You've got Baylor, I've got Iowa State, and then you look at the teams that are everybody's picking at the top, which is Arizona State, Kansas State, and even Texas Tech. I mean, Joey McGuire hit the transfer portal hard, got a ton of money coming in, and they already had the number 5 experienced team. TCU is a team that's, Sonny Dykes has got his best team since 2022. I know BYU lost their quarterback, but they remain strong. All those teams are contenders. I went with Baylor, Utah, and Iowa State because of the schedules. They get the majority of their tough games at home. You look at Arizona State, for example. This year they have to play on the road, Utah, Baylor, and Iowa State. You look at Texas Tech, and Texas Tech has been a team that's been great at home, but has struggled on the road. On the road, Joey McGuire's just 6-10. They have to play Utah on the road, Arizona State on the road, Kansas State on the road, and even Houston, which has a much upgraded defense. So the schedule was a big part for me, picking Baylor, Utah, and Iowa State as my three top teams this year.
Baylor being in that mix, and I don't disagree that they belong there. Heading into the season last year, we were talking about Aranda potentially being on a hot seat. I mean, another, I guess, testament to how crazy and unpredictable last year's Big 12 schedule was and how it all played out, because the guy now is, he's captaining a team that some people peg as the conference championship favorite, and this time last year, we were wondering if he was going to have a job.
Yeah, especially after 6 weeks. Baylor's 2-4, and it's like, bye-bye, Coach Aranda, you're on the way out the door. And then all they did was win their final 6 games. And I thought they played a really good bowl game against LSU as well. And part of the turnaround was the change in offense last year. Sawyer Robinson got better each and every week at QB. They've got dynamic running backs. I mean, Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass, one of the better running back combos in the country. You look at the receiving core with Josh Cameron and Ashton Hawkins, and then they've got an outstanding tight end in Michael Trigg. The offensive line's a veteran group. They're going to have an explosive offense. With Aranda calling the defense, I think they're in great shape there. And they've got talent throughout, even Keaton Thompson at the middle linebacker. So, and then the schedule. The toughest games, Kansas State at home, even Utah at home, Arizona State at home. You look at the road slate, Oklahoma State winnable, Arizona winnable, Cincinnati winnable. TCU's their toughest road game this year along with SMU. I think you're going to see Baylor play. And remember, Aranda had this team 12-2 back in 2021. This team's on similar to that one.
Phil Steele is my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. The Phil Steele College Football Preview for 2025 is out now, 350-plus pages. It is the College Football Bible. Go get it wherever books are sold. If we're talking about Utah getting back in this championship picture, obviously offensive improvement, as you already stated, is going to be important. And we've been able to look at some of the film of what New Mexico was able to do, what Devin Dampier was able to do at New Mexico, but he was far from perfect. Great dual threat quarterback, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. If there is a question about him, it's that. Can he take care of the football? How much do you expect improvement in that particular aspect for him? New location, new team, but same offense.
Yeah, I expect a lot of improvement, and for this reason. As I mentioned, when you look at New Mexico and what they had coming back on offense last year, they didn't have a great offensive line. They didn't have a great receiving core. They did not have, they had running backs. So Eli Sanders was very productive for him at running back, but he was basically Sanders and Dampier, and the rest of the offense was questionable. To have this type of offensive line in front of him, I think that's going to help his decision-making a lot. Having a little bit of time to throw and to have better receivers to throw to is going to help him as well, plus being the second year of the offense. So I think all those factors added together will have him much improved in the touchdown to interception ratio this year.
More of a big picture question, I suppose, but for the Big 12 conference at large, how do they stack up with, the power players, the Big 10, the SEC? Last year it was an unexpected team in Arizona State that made it to the college football playoff and got the automatic bye, the automatic bid. And they gave Texas every bit of what Texas could handle, but ultimately fell short. The Big 12 conference, whether it's Baylor, it's Utah, it's Iowa State, it's whomever, do they have a shot at winning playoff games this year?
Yeah, we saw last year you can win playoff games, and generally I think whoever comes out of the Big 12 would have a shot, definitely at that. But I don't see the Big 12 as – I mean, let's face it, when you look at the conferences, it's the SEC and the Big 10 are the top two conferences. And you look at the talent, you look at the draft picks, those two are loaded. Then the question is who's the third best conference after that. And the Big 12, I think, is going to have a tough time getting multiple teams into the playoff this year because it is so balanced. I mean, as I mentioned, I've got 8 teams that if you gave TCU Baylor's schedule, I might have TCU number 1 in the conference. It's just the way it worked out this year. So I think you're going to see the Big 12 beat itself up a little bit. But whoever emerges from this pack, yes, they would definitely have the capability of winning a playoff game or two.
How much did the quarterback situation at BYU, Jake Retzlaff has left the program. He's now walking on at Tulane. How much does that affect your outlook for BYU?
Well, in the magazine, I picked BYU 7th in the Big 12, and that was basically expecting Retzlaff not to be there. So I thought with the fact that he would probably have to sit out due to a suspension, most likely transfer. When I went to the press, I was basically banking on Retzlaff not being there. So I would say my situation would be exactly the same. I have them 7th in the Big 12 heading into the season. They do have to play Iowa State on the road, Texas Tech on the road. And one team I want you to watch out for in the Big 12 this year is Cincinnati. Nobody is talking about them, but I think Scott Satterfield clearly has the best team he's put on the field since he's been there.
Man, that's the last thing I need to hear, Phil. Another team that you got to worry about in the Big 12, because there's already too many teams that you got to worry about in the Big 12. The parity in the conference, it gives me flashbacks. I think my producer told you that I worked covering the Pac-12 on Pac-12 radio for several years, and that was something that ended up really hurting the Pac-12 conference. The fact that you never had one or two truly elite teams really emerging. Obviously, the final year of the conference's existence. Washington filled that role, but it was always, Arizona State coming out of nowhere and beating Oregon late in the season when they had no business doing that, taking Oregon out of a playoff picture, or then Oregon beating Utah in a conference championship game after they had lost to Arizona State, taking Utah out of the playoff picture. The parity of that conference hurt the conference in the sort of national perception landscape. Is the same thing probably going to happen to the Big 12 this year in your mind?
Yeah, I do think that's going to happen. And, Sean, how about the Pac-12 having arguably the best season ever in 2023, and it was their last season, for crying out loud. And you know what? I miss regional football. I miss the West Coast football and East Coast football, not Cal and Stanford playing the ACC, but I digress. Yes, I believe that the Pac-12 did that on a yearly basis, and it sure looks like the Big 12 is going to do that this year. I said it's going to be tough to get more than one team into the playoff mix, and I got to say, hats off to Commissioner Yormark for stepping up and saying he supports the 5-11 because, looking at it from the outside, you're like, how many years is the Big 12 going to get 2 teams in there? And yet he's saying, let's go with the 5-11, get the best teams playing in the playoff. I really appreciate that as an outsider looking in.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way that the conference kind of the conference office at least has to navigate these perception battles and obviously the performance battles on the field. Last year, the Big 12 had the benefit of Colorado with, one of the biggest stars at quarterback in Shedeur Sanders and obviously the eventual Heisman Trophy winner. You don't always have must-watch players in every conference, must-watch players in places that are not the SEC or the Big Ten. Are there must-watch appointment viewing type talents in this year's Big 12 in your mind?
There are. I mean, to me, there's a ton of players. I love college football, Sean. So, I mean, I could watch a Sun Belt game and get excited. So, I mean, there are plenty of talent. You look at the quarterbacks, though, that the Big 12 has. It's your quarterback-rich conference this year. I had a tough time picking 1, 2, 3, 4. Who do you leave out? You're leaving out some quality players. So when you've got quarterback play like that, you've got exciting running backs like a Bryson Washington, a Baylor. They've got the receivers. Tight end, Joe Royer, one of the top tight ends in the country. There's plenty of talent in the Big 12 this year.
That quarterback, the quarterback logjam. Devin Dampier is a dual threat in a way that some of these other guys aren't. Where do you see him kind of fitting in terms of, if you're taking a top 5 QBs in this conference, where's his ceiling? Maybe where's his floor in your mind?
Well, the floor would be if he has the ratio that he did last year and Utah's 7-5, then you're like, well, I'm not that wild about him. So the floor would be low. But the ceiling would be high. And as mentioned, with the better offensive line in front of him, better receivers, second year in the offense, and if he's guiding Utah to 10, 11 wins this year and improving on the ratio, which I really think he will, you're going to see a much better ratio, plus running the football like he does. He is a dangerous runner. He would have the opportunity to even be first team Big 12 with this quarterback mix. So he's got a low floor, but he's got a very high ceiling.
Phil Steele is my guest for a couple more minutes. The college football preview guide is out now. Go find it wherever you can buy your books. It's got that satisfying weight. Do you do that on purpose, by the way? Like, college football's coming around. You go to the store, you go to the magazine stand, and you pick up the Phil Steele guide. And it's not like you're getting a Sports Illustrated, man. That thing is sizable. That thing is heavy. I mean, are you selecting paperweight so that it's that satisfying feel, Phil?
Yeah, it's the amount of pages, and maybe all the ink. We have so many words on those pages. There's
That's true.
tons of ink. But the thing is, for years, I think 10 years ago, the printer we were using at that time said, Phil, you can't go beyond 350 pages. This thing will never stick together. This year, our printer said, I don't care how many pages you do, the book will be fine. So with 2 more teams added, we went from 350 pages to 360 pages this year. It's the biggest it's ever been, and I wish I had more space. We get some pretty small type because there's probably over 1 million words and numbers that are in the magazine.
How much more complicated is the magazine now that you got 2 transfer portal windows at least for now? And, the college football coaching carousel, it used to be kind of like it'd be a 2-3 week period, and then you wouldn't get a lot of movement. Now you get strange outliers and retirements and suspensions and things like that. Is it more complicated now than it was 5-6 years ago?
Oh, Sean, this double transfer portal thing's killing me. We got to go back to one transfer portal. I'll talk to the coaches. One of my first lines this year, every time they'd say, "How you doing, Phil?" I'm like, "Well, a lot better now that the transfer portal closed." And the coach would say the exact same thing. He's like, "Amen to that." And I tell you, there were so many players that entered teams or signed with teams in the winter portal. They actually left after the spring, where it's getting ridiculous. But what we used to do was be able to go to the press in May. After spring practice is over, I would talk to all the head coaches, and we could go in May with set rosters. Now with the second portal closing at the end of April, I was talking to coaches. I talked to over 125 coaches this year, and we had to go through the entire month of May. Heck, the final week of June, or the first week of June, I was still talking to 13 coaches this year. Normally, I don't talk to a single coach the final week of the magazine, so we got a couple typos in there because it was so hectic down the stretch. We got to go to one portal, Sean. If we do, the coaches will be happy, and damn sure Phil Steele will be happy.
When's the right time for that portal? I know that most of the coaches support that kind of New Year's portal time. We've talked about it being post-spring as well. Maybe not for your publishing purposes, but which one makes most sense for college football?
Yeah, for me, I'd go with the January one, which is let the players play in the bowl games and then hit in the portal, as opposed to players hitting the portal prior to their bowl games. So don't do it in December, do it in January. And that way you could go into spring practice. I think we'd see more spring games happen again because you wouldn't have to worry about your players leaving after spring practice if somebody buys them off your team because they have a big spring game. And I think the spring games are good for the fans. So I would love to see it in January personally.
All right, before we let you go, some national level stuff. The power players are who they are. The SEC is going to be there. The Big Ten is going to be there. The college football playoff discussion when we get to a new model is probably going to favor those 2 conferences. But the pecking order for me is far from established in those 2 conferences. Penn State seems to have higher hopes and more hype than they've had really any year that I can remember in recent memory. Are you buying or selling on Penn State as not just a good team in the Big Ten, but potential number 1 team in the country, national championship contender?
Yeah, for the first time in the 31 years of my magazine, Sean, I've picked Penn State number 1. And, they've got the same criteria that the last 2 national champs have had. A team that is loaded with experience, had a lot of players turn down the NFL. That's what happened at Michigan 2 years ago. That's what happened at Ohio State last year. All those players at Ohio State wanted to come back and get their gold pants for beating Michigan, so they turned down the NFL and returned. It was a senior-laden group. Now this year, Ohio State lost 14 guys to the NFL draft. Penn State only lost 5. A lot of the players that could have gone stayed. Danny Dennis Sutton up front on the defensive end, Zane Duran at defensive tackle. Both would have been probably first-round draft picks. You look at the quarterback. Out of all the veteran teams, or out of all the top teams, I should say, from last year, very few returned their starting quarterback. But Drew Allar is back for Penn State for yet another year. They've got the best running back core in the country. I have them rated the best offensive line in the country. They get some key additions at wide receiver like Kyron Hudson from USC and Trevor Pena from Syracuse. They already had the defense. Now they've got an even better offense. And I think this year Penn State breaks through. James Franklin's been close against Ohio State all these years. I think he breaks through this year. I went with Penn State number 1.
Where does Alabama at? I'm a big Kalen DeBoer fan, and to be the guy who follows the guy is never an easy thing. There's always growing pains, it seems, in a first-year scenario there. But does he get Bama back to where Bama expects to be?
Yeah, they definitely make the playoff this year. I, myself, like you, Sean, am a big Kalen DeBoer fan. And you look at their units, all running back, receiver, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, DBs, all rank in my top 10 units. They've got over 10 at defensive end, Keenan at I mean, you can name the NFL prospects. You go over the top 50 NFL prospects, 7 or 8 of them are on Alabama. The big question is quarterback. But Ty Simpson was my number 3 rated quarterback out of high school. He's been there for 3 years. And this offense fits Ty Simpson better than it did Jalen Milroe from last year. And they also bring back Ryan Grubb at offensive coordinator, who was in the NFL last year. He's reunited with DeBoer. Remember DeBoer's second year at Washington? He took a less talented team and was playing in the national title. This Alabama team's capable of winning the national title as long as they get good quarterback play this year, and I think they will.
I don't know how Arch Manning could possibly live up to the hype because the hype is so absolutely insane. I mean, look, he seems like he does everything the way that you're supposed to do things. But what does Texas look like now that we're in the Arch Manning era?
Yeah, he'd have to have like 60 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions to live up to the hype. But, I think he will have a really good year. He's a dangerous runner, adds that dimension to the offense. He throws the deep ball well. My biggest question mark with Texas is the offensive line. They only have 1 starter coming back. They've got talent, but how quickly will they emerge? But they do have the best defense in the country, and they have arguably the most talent overall in the SEC. Now, they have to play Ohio State on the road. They play Georgia on the road, and they got a sneaky game against Oklahoma and Dallas. They also play Florida in the Swamp. So there may be a couple of bumps in the road, but as we learned last year with Ohio State, you can lose a couple of times during the regular season, but if you have the overall talent, you can do very well when playoffs roll around.
Before I let you go, I guess it's been 21 years in a row now that you've had that conversation in the offseason with Kyle Whittingham. Did you get any indication that this might be the last one when you talked to him?
He did not give any inclination of that. What he did give an inclination of is that Utah's going to have a damn good football team this year. So that's what I got out of the conversation more. But no, he did not say anything towards that.
Well, we'll just continue to speculate and wonder because that's what we do during summertime radio. Phil, congrats on another great magazine. Again, thank you for doing this every single year for all of us college football junkies. And most importantly, thanks for joining me on the show today. Let's talk again soon.
Hey, sounds good, Sean. A lot of fun talking football with you, and it's available at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million are the 2 brick-and-mortar places, or philsteele.com. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, philsteele.com. But really had a lot of fun talking football with you, Sean. 350-plus
pages, 1 million-plus words, that satisfying weight that lets you know that college football is right around the corner. For Utah, it's only 38 days away. Go check out Phil Steele's College Football Preview for 2025. Big thanks to Phil for joining us. PhilSteele.com. It is $19.99 and worth every damn cent of that because, man, there is so much information packed into those pages. All the way down, depth charts. He goes preseason all-conference teams, preseason poll selections. He does have Baylor number 1 in the Big 12. He's got Utah number 2. So if we get that as a conference championship game, it would be a rematch from the game in Waco, of course. But, man, Phil Steele high on University of Utah's bounce-back year. And that's a guy who he doesn't just get context for Utah or for the Big 12. He's got probably better than anyone does in the country. he's got an idea with conversations direct from coaches and their mouths and talking about their personnel. He's got a better sense of where teams are at this point than almost anyone does. Big thanks to Phil Steele for joining us. All right, it's hot. If you're not in a house right now that's got energy efficient windows, I promise you your energy bill, your cooling bill, is way higher than it needs to be. It's time now to call our friends at Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. Tell them you just want a bid. Have them come out, measure the windows, look at where the sun hits the house, see how old the old windows actually are. Have them give you a bid on replacement windows. High quality, manufactured right here in Salt Lake City, installed by Salt Lake City crews, warranted by a Salt Lake City business. Figure out if you can finance those windows and have the energy savings on that lower air conditioning bill actually offset by the low financing price of Advanced Window Products. That's their goal every time someone gets windows, okay? Save you money, improve the value of your home, and, of course, give you great service along the road. Nate Orchard, Jake Weber, people that we trust. Nate Orchard, the soon-to-be Utah Athletics Hall of Famer, by the way, in charge of this business. 801-850-9100, advancedwindows.com. $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. Call them right now. Get on the schedule. Right now, there is absolutely zero obligation when you have them come out and give you a bid and tell you what they can potentially save you in terms of your energy savings and, of course, how low they can get that price with their financing options. It's no obligation. It's a few minutes of your time, and it's potentially a massive increase in your home's value. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. Tell them OC sent you. $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. All right. We got a little truth serum injected into a college football coach. Now, it's a Big Ten coach. It's not a local story, but I think what he had to say is going to resonate with every college football fan because Mike Locksley talked about losing his own locker room. And he was very honest. He was candid about how and why he lost his locker room. I can tell you it's related to all the recent changes in college football and something you're going to want to hear next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 792 on FM. Proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Well, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The start bench cut questions are out. We did pizza toppings in honor of Gordy Chiesa. I made him a promise that we would talk a little pizza. Pepperoni, sausage, plain cheese. 877-353-0700. Start one, bench one, cut one. More importantly, we got the announcement yesterday that 7 new inductees will be going into the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame, to include Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sac Lake City, owner-proprietor of Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100.
Shameless plug for Advanced Windows.
Great partners on the show. Why not?
And a great company, of course. Yeah, by the way, just a clarification, this is not the Ring of Honor. These aren't Ring of Honor
Correct.
inductees. These are
Correct.
separate from that, still a Hall of Fame type thing, but not in the stadium. Do you know where the Hall of Fame is? There like an exhibit on campus for?
It's down. So the Huntsman Center has the Hall of Fame plaques.
Oh, okay.
Up on the concourse of the Huntsman Center.
I have seen that. Yeah.
And also that I don't know what the building is called. That little like entrance room where the ticket booth is.
Oh, okay.
There's like the scholarship room behind it where they host some of the visiting recruits and things like that. You'll see the stuff in there as well.
So yeah, this still an incredible honor for Nate Orchard, and there's a couple other huge names in the inductees list that I'm sure we'll go over. But yeah, shout out to Nate, the mayor of Sac Lake City, now is immortalized in the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame. Well deserved.
As he deserves to be. I mean, well, I'll just go over the list right now because, 6 of it's all. I think I said 7. 6 are in the 2025 Hall of Fame class that are actually athletes, and then a contributor in Kem Gardner, who's been a big supporter for a long time. But C.J. Cron from baseball, not only a great Ute, but has had a really incredible pro career as well for multiple different teams. Georgia Dabritz from gymnastics, Star Lotulelei, Bert Lund from men's skiing, Ashley Mason from women's soccer, Nate Orchard. So that's a who's who. That's a big-time list. And in honor of the mayor of Sac Lake City going in, start bench cut the pass rushers of the Power 5 era. This is a tough one, but you're going to have to make some decisions here. We'll dive deep into it. I'll give you their numbers in our next segment. Bradley and I, Hunter Dimmick, Nate Orchard. Start one, bench one, cut one. Good luck.
Seriously.
I want to talk about this thing I found. So Mike Locksley, the Maryland football coach. We're not going to talk a lot of Maryland football on the Sean O'Connell Show, but he was giving an interview at Big Ten Media Days and talked about, he just straight up admitted that last year, the struggles that the Terrapins had, the struggles that team went through, he took it all on himself like coaches do, but he went beyond that normal coach speak, and he gave details as to why it happened. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a coach in the right mindset who's going to say, hey, the year last year was on me. I should have coached them up better. I should have made better decisions. It's on me and my staff to help put these kids in a successful situation, whatever. But Mike Locksley's been around the game a long time, and he admitted that he lost his locker room last year over NIL payments. This is something that we have speculated on and we have talked about as a potential hazard of this new era in college sports. And at least in one place, Mike Locksley at Maryland said that's what happened here. They finished the year 4-8. They only won a single Big Ten contest. And by the way, in the best case scenario, Maryland is not going to win a lot of Big Ten games, all right? They just don't have what it takes to compete with James's Ohio State Buckeyes or the Michigan Wolverines or the Oregon Ducks or the USC Trojans or even the Wisconsin Badgers in most years. But he talked about the changing financial landscape, and he talked about the particularly unique advantages or disadvantages that some teams have based on their economic model. Maryland benefits from being in the Big Ten Conference, okay? They've got big money. because of the television revenue distribution. When you talk about Maryland's booster base, when you talk about Maryland's season ticket sales, when you talk about Maryland's collective, they're on a different playing field than Michigan and Ohio State are. The benefit for Utah and for BYU is, while they have to keep up in the arms race, the folks in their own conference are at least within striking distance for the most part. Texas Tech is trying to make a case that that's not the reality anymore. But if you're Maryland, if you're Iowa, if you're Rutgers, you're going up against, on a daily basis, the juggernauts of college sports. And Mike Locksley, without coming off too whiny, he basically said, look, man, we have limited resources, so I had to make some decisions that other coaches don't have to make, where I had to decide from our NIL collective, from our funds, who I was going to reward. Talented young players who I convinced to come here and were already part of our plans, or the veterans who have already paid their dues. What do you do if you're the coach and you have limited resources? If you're at Oregon, you just say, hey, man, turns out that this young guy, this freshman, is really, really good, just like we thought he was. We got to make sure he's happy and we got to pay him. Yep, that's the plan. And also, this 4-year starter on our offensive line, we really got to reward him for what he's been doing. Yep, that's fine. We have enough money for that too. Maryland, you got to choose. You got to pick your poison in some of these situations. Now, he admits that he didn't do the best job of it, but this is the reality for more teams than not. Ohio State doesn't have to make that choice. Georgia doesn't. Alabama doesn't. I mean, they do, but not on a level that's actually harmful.
Well, yeah,
right?
if one of their veterans, because they decide to pay an incoming transfer or high school recruit more than they have enough to also reward a veteran, that veteran leaves, they have another 5-star, 4-star guy right behind him who usually, not all those guys pan out, but they've got, places at Georgia, they don't just have one behind their veteran starter that they would have liked to reward. They probably have 2 or 3. It works out fine because they have the depth that if they have to sacrifice one of these veterans or one of these high school recruits or whatever it might be, they turn out just okay. I would say that Utah is maybe in a better spot, maybe a comparable spot to Maryland, where if they say, hey, we're going to spend a lot of money on this high school recruit, this flashy high school recruit or guy from the transfer portal, and instead of rewarding one of our veterans who's really good too, and incentivizing them to stay, that's a very tough decision, a much tougher decision for programs like Utah, and as you talked about with Maryland here, than it is for Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, you name it.
So the quote from Locksley, and hilarious because he calls himself the locker room king in the quote, which is just absolutely fantastic.
The locker room king.
He says, I own the fact that I lost my locker room, and this is Coach Locks, the locker room king. That's an actual quote from him.
That's amazing.
Hey, this is Coach Locks. I'm the locker room king. All right. Pump the brakes on that, Coach. But this is Coach Locks, the locker room king, telling you this landscape. I had to choose between paying young players who were coming in or reward the older players that have been through the fire and had 3 bowl wins. I tried to do both with limited resources, and that's what you get, a locker room with the haves and the have-nots.
Hey, if even the king can fall victim to this stuff, then man, that everyone else in college football better watch out.
That unnecessary sentence aside, it's something that what do we think there are, James? We think there are probably 30 or 40 teams in college football that don't have real concrete problems with this. And that means that there's 120 who do, or 80 who do. Man, that is tough, because how would you make the decision, right? You have a limited, let's say you have a salary cap, just like the NFL does. And knowing what your team has done in recent years and knowing what your team is looking like in 2024, you're saying, man, I got to keep this young fella happy if we're going to be better next year. And you got a senior who's on his way out, who's going to enter the workforce, who's going out into the world, who you probably have a much stronger relationship with, a much better relationship with, who has done more for you, has, as he said, has helped you win bowl games, has helped your job security, and you've made your millions. And that kid, you're like, you know what? I have to decide if I'm going to give this 22-year-old $300,000 or if I'm going to give this 18-year-old $300,000. How do you make that decision? If you're a coach who can't just pick up the phone and call the collective and say, actually, I need $600,000 instead of $300,000.
Well, and also with the idea that especially for the newcomer, 150 just splitting in half is probably not going to be enough to get that flashy newcomer out of the portal or out of the high school ranks.
Because guess what? If you say, all right, guys, I'm going to give you both 150, then you have two unhappy players.
Yeah.
You say you have two guys that are a little bit disgruntled, and with the young guy, you now have to re-recruit him and hope that he doesn't transfer to go play for somebody else. So, look, I appreciate the candor. I appreciate a coach saying it like it is and being like, look, this is hard. He went on and talked about it was a valuable lesson. He has changed the signage in his locker room. He said there's now a sign in the locker room that tells people to leave their Louis, their car keys, and their financial statements at home because they will all pay the same price for success in the locker room. Can you imagine having to have that sign printed as a coach? Leave your Louis belt, your car keys, and your financial statement somewhere else. What?
Or else the king will confiscate all of them.
Or the king of he said if he has to, he will move his desk into the locker room.
Oh, help police some things a little bit more.
Now, we've talked to players about this, right? Hey, does it create tension? Is there an issue? And every time they're like, no, it's business. You're damn right it causes tension and issues.
We were comparing college athletics to pro sports. We've been doing it since NIL became legalized however many years ago now. There's issues in pro sports because of guys' contracts, because of stuff that they're able to show off in the locker room. So absolutely there's issues with much younger men in college football locker rooms. Absolutely.
I go back to my own time 20 years ago, and there was disagreement. There was resentment that could build. Even when you tried your best to, take personal accountability, you would sometimes as a walk-on or you would sometimes as a backup see guys that were underperforming in front of you, and you were just like, gosh, that guy has a scholarship? Now you have that same thing, even with scholarship players. I guess it always existed even with scholarship players because, like, that guy's starting over me. We're both on scholarship.
Yeah,
that guy's starting over me.
The currency was playing time and scholarships.
Now the currency is currency.
Yeah.
Now the currency is a vehicle. The currency is a home. The currency is a nest egg for your future. And you've got guys that are promised more than they ever deliver on. You got guys that over-deliver and are undercompensated. And in places like Maryland and probably to some degree places like Utah, places like BYU, places like Colorado, places like, fill in the blank with the Big 12 teams, you've got a little bit of this at least happening in every locker room. Now, I am fully aware and confident that Kyle Whittingham and his staff manage it better than most because the culture is better.
Well, and I think despite any efforts to plug any leaks, to keep everything in-house, if there were significant problems with this at University of Utah or BYU, your local Utah State, we'd be hearing about it because that stuff tends to get out tends to leave the house, if you will. The dirty laundry tends to get aired when there's that kind of tension happening in a locker room. So that's a reason why I'm confident about it, in addition to what you said about the well-established culture of Kyle Whittingham and his coaching staff. I just think if that were happening, we'd already be hearing about it, and we haven't.
Big thanks to Mike Loxley for peeling the curtain back just a little bit and admitting, hey, this is my bad. I lost my locker room. And he lost his locker room over NIL money.
Lost his kingdom, if you will.
This is Coach Lox. I'm the king of the locker room. You know me.
Coach of Loxley.
This is OC talking, all right? You know I'm the king of being rich and awesome. You know me, the king of being the handsome, charismatic guy. And even I mean, that's incredible.
It was amazing.
All right.
Thank you for informing the rest of us, letting the rest of us in on you being the locker room
Thank
king.
you.
I'm sure they're well aware of it around, is it College Park in Maryland? Is that the city?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, in the College Park area. I'm sure they're well aware, but now here in Salt Lake City and everywhere else, we've been clued in. We appreciate that.
All right. When we come back, I'm going to go over our start bench cut candidates by the numbers. Somebody texted in yesterday and said, hey, would you do that, please? Give numbers on all these before you ask us to
feeling
cut.
the pressure.
So you know what? It's a good suggestion.
Definitely. I ask you for numbers all the time, especially for, group of 5 era.
If I was good at
players.
my job, I probably would have had this be part of the thing since the very beginning of start bench cut. So we'll give you the start bench cut candidate by the numbers, and I will explain to you why I left off a consensus All-American. He's not even one of the candidates. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk. The Big Willie's Grilled Steak Salad, 1717 South Main. Big Willie's, go in, check out the lunch specials. They run one every single day for our ESPN 700 sports listeners. Absolutely phenomenal. The jalapeno cilantro dressing, perfect. Add just a little bit of heat, a ton of flavor. The steak, incredibly moist, grilled to perfection, sliced. You know how if you slice a steak straight down, it gives you a nice strip. But if you do that diagonal thing, it gives you more surface area, makes it seem like it's a much larger bite than it actually is. I love when restaurants do that, and that's what Big Willie's does. Delightful stuff. Make sure you check it out. 1717 South Main. All of your lunch specials are going to be $14 or $15. This one, I'm a health nut, James, as you know, so I went with the salad today.
So, yeah, you were excited about the steak salad. You let me try a little bit of the steak anyway. Absolutely delicious. If you're looking for a salad, this is definitely one to recommend. They also let us kind of sample the next 2 days, OC, since we're not doing live shows. Yeah. Cuban sandwich and the crispy chicken wrap.
Crispy chicken wrap, yeah.
With wings and jalapeno poppers. Very good. Very good. So head on over to Big Willie's and try any one of those lunch specials. What we've already previewed today, we'll preview those other two in depth tomorrow and Friday during our during national programming and a best of show. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Start bench cut today in honor of Nate Orchard and the announcement that he is going into the Utah Athletics Hall of Fame here in 2025 as a member of the 2025 class.
The Hall of Fame mayor?
Yes, the mayor of the Hall of Fame.
There it is. The mayor of Utah Athletics Hall of Fame now, and Sac Lake City.
All right, so we're doing start bench cut. Pass rushers ends from the Power 5 era. Start one, bench one, cut one. Hunter Dimmick, Bradley Anai, Nate Orchard. The numbers look like this. I'm going to start with, I'll end with the mayor of Sac Lake City. I'll start with Snacks, our guy Hunter Dimmick, okay? The fighting pride of Syracuse, Utah.
Yeah, go Titans. The wife is a proud alum of Syracuse, so have to get that go Titans in there.
Okay. He finished his Utah career. He was 13, 14, 15, 16. For those of you who are not familiar 100%. Played 10 games his freshman year, 11 as a sophomore, 7 in 2015 because of some injuries. And as a senior, played all 13 games. He finished his Utah career with 150 combined tackles. Again, this is a defensive end. You're not going to have big linebacker totals here. 150 tackles, 45 tackles for loss, 29.5 sacks, 11 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries, and 4 forced fumbles. That is a machine of production with his hand in the dirt every play.
And you were telling me yesterday, I was a little surprised at this, not an All-American in any of his years. Is that right?
He was not. He was not an All-American. No,
but he was All Pac-12.
Yes.
How many times was he All Pac-12?
If you include honorable mention, he was twice.
Okay.
All Pac-12 conference.
So one in and one is honorable mention. All right.
All right. That's Hunter Dimmick's numbers. Bradley Anai. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. 135 total tackles, 42 tackles for loss. So 15 fewer total tackles, 3 fewer tackles for loss. And as most of you are aware, half a sack more, which makes him the all-time career sack leader at the University of Utah. Bradley Anai with 30 sacks during his Utah football career. His best season was a 13-sack performance as a senior. Hunter Dimmick's best season was 14.5 sacks as a senior. And then, of course, it brings us to the mayor himself, the mayor of Sac Lake City, Nate Orchard. 2013 and 2014 were his big years in the Pac-12 conference. 18 and a half sacks as a senior. 21 and a half total sacks, according to sportsreference.com. 30 tackles for loss, 133 combined tackles. In just those 2 years, he had almost the same total tackles number as Bradley and I did in 4 years. He had 4 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries, 6 forced fumbles for the mayor of Sac Lake City.
Just so productive. Just like what we talked about a couple days ago when we talked about the linebackers from the Pac-12 era, power era, Chase Hansen, Gianni Paul in particular, Devin Lloyd had a career's worth of great numbers and great production. Chase Hansen and Gianni Paul really had one season's worth, but that one season was almost as productive as, as a couple of Devin Lloyd's great seasons. So it's like very similar when you talk about Nate Orchard to Chase Hansen and Gianni Paul. It makes you feel like it's like, even though he didn't have the career long production that Hunter Dimmick and Bradley and I had, it makes you feel like the mayor needs to be uncuttable. It really does.
So what are you doing?
I'm starting. You know what? In fact, I'm going to start the mayor of Sac Lake City. I'm starting the mayor of Sac Lake City on the strength of that 1 year, really. His 18 and a half sacks a year, where he got the nickname from the great Bill Riley and still uses it today. I'm starting him. I am benching Hunter Dimmick, and I am cutting Bradley and I.
You're cutting the all-time career sack leader
in the pass rusher one. And the reason why it's a half a sack difference, first off.
Yes.
Secondly, it feels like Hunter was just a little bit more versatile in that he had more tackles for loss. He forced more fumbles. If I'm not mistaken, he forced more fumbles. He deflected passes as well, and more tackles than Bradley and I too. Is that what you were saying?
Correct. Yeah.
So just a more versatile and just a half a sack difference. I'm going with Hunter Dimmick. The other reason is, wife went to school with Hunter. They're not necessarily close or anything, but I feel like she'd be big mad if I cut Hunter Dimmick. So
that's
there
fair.
you go.
That's fair. Okay. I mean, I want to. This is one that I want to recuse myself from.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting Hunter.
Okay.
Because of what, like, he was consistent. If he had that junior season, he only played 7 games. If he had a 13-game season or a 12-game season that junior year, I think that he probably ends up with like 34 sacks.
Yeah.
Something like that. And like you said, the versatility and the fact that he was just a physical monstrosity at the defensive end position. He would force teams to address him in a way that speed rushers never do, right? And all respect to Nate and all respect to Bradley and I and Jonah Ellis, who didn't even make the list as a consensus All-American because he had one great year, but even his great year, his consensus All-American year, which, by the way, what a robbery for snacks for Hunter Dimmick.
Yeah.
13 sacks got Jonah Ellis consensus All-American status. 14 and a half sacks did not get Hunter Dimmick All-American status.
But even that year, as I think you were starting to say, was not as good as the best years from Hunter Dimmick and Bradley and I, right?
Right. So I think I'm starting Hunter. I'm benching the mayor because 18 and a half sacks is freakish, and I like you.
It just feels uncuttable, right?
And
even though it's only a season plus, like, you can't cut the mayor.
Bradley and I, I'm sorry, but you're being cut on the Sean O'Connell Show.
That is. Call us 877-353-0700 if you have a grievance. I
actually don't
Bradley.
feel good about that.
I don't either. See, that's when it's the Bradley and I era that I really started to pay a lot
You know
a
what?
lot of attention to Utah football because I started working here, OC. So
Hold
I
on.
do have a soft spot in my heart for Bradley and I, but like I don't know if he stands up to those
I'm
two.
amending.
Okay.
I'm amending. Okay. Bradley and I was a consensus All-American, and he is the all-time sack leader at the school. He is uncuttable
Okay.
in a way that even the other two are not. So erase what I just said.
All right.
Oh no, I can't do this.
You can't cut any of them, can you?
I'm cutting the mayor.
You're cutting the mayor.
I have to.
Nate Orchard,
Snacks starts. Bradley and I.
the mayor
bench.
of the Hall of Fame,
Oh no.
is getting cut. See, what you said about not just the 18.5 sacks, but the other production he had in that season being close to some of Anai's and Snacks' career numbers in some of those categories, obviously not sacks, but in some of those other categories, like that's what swayed me. Is it wasn't just the sacks; it was he also had a very versatile year. And you think about projecting, if he had one more season, he's probably the all-time sack king, right? Like I don't know.
9708 says start Hunter, bench Nate, cut Bradley. Hunter and Nate showed up every game. Sometimes Bradley was quiet.
Okay.
Man, but
Interesting.
he's the all-time career sack leader.
Can you
It was a consensus All-American. You can't do it. You can't cut him.
Yeah.
Jonah Ellis, I'm sorry. People texting in, where's Jonah Ellis? Jonah Ellis played 14 games in 2021 as a freshman, was a special teamer, had 1 sack, okay? 2022, played 11 games, and he had 3 sacks. 2023, he played in 10 games and had 12 sacks and was a consensus All-American. He was the beneficiary of a familiar family name, of respect for the program, and a lot of those things. Is he a great player? Obviously, yes. Is he on the same level as Nate Orchard, who
Are you going to amend it again?
I feel a need to amend again. Hunter Dimmick, Nate Orchard, Bradley, and I. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Instead of cutting Nate Orchard, I'm going to have him be a stand-up linebacker. I'm just going to have him walk off.
See, no.
You can't
You've been calling out listeners for trying to do the same thing. We're not going to let you do it.
I know. I can't do that. You know what? I'm amending again. I'm now cutting Hunter Dimmick.
Oh, my gosh.
Who previously I was starting, which is just backwards, but I'm doing it.
That's
okay?
how close this is.
That's
how close this is, though. Like, I think the other two uncuttable guys were Zach Moss and Devin Lloyd in the running backs and linebackers position groups. But, like, even those position groups were not near as close as this, in my opinion. So that's how close this is. We don't blame you, listeners, if you have to send like 5 texts or tweets to amend your list here. I'm sticking with mine, though, as tough as it is to cut the all-time sack king. That's what I'm doing.
Yikes! All right,
We're
debacle.
efforting the mayor of the Hall of Fame, Nate Orchard, next week. We'll have to ask him what he thinks of our start bench cut. Mayor of Sack Lake City.
Here's the thing. I also have to think about this. There is a so Hunter Dimmick now, he does a little jiu-jitsu. He does a little grappling. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that if I sign up for a grappling tournament, I have to grapple him at some point.
And you just cut him.
And I just cut him.
In your 3rd edition of your
and I'm gonna
bench cut.
Know what? I'm just gonna lean into it. And if I ever have to go up against him in a grappling tournament, I'm just gonna be like, I cut you. He's gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Be like,
next time you and my wife are in the same room, she's gonna have something to say about it too. Proud, as I said, Syracuse Titans, the both of them.
Yeah, sorry, Syracuse Titans out there. I'm a beat digger though. That's where my loyalties lie. Wow, what a mess that was. 877-353-0700. Start bench cut. Nate Orchard, Bradley and I, Hunter Dimmick. It's so you can't cut any of them, but you have to. That's the rules of the game. You got to do it. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Go right now to ESPN700sports.com to download any of the podcast versions of the shows that you missed. You can also find us on the ESPN 700 app, wherever you get your podcasts, on-demand section online. Also, you can find details for Live Night Events Granary Live Concert Series, powered by Nightingale College and Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer. Outdoor concerts in the Granary District. Those details, the full lineup at ESPN700sports.com. I am experiencing an existential crisis because of today's start bench cut. Bradley and I, Hunter Dimmick, Nate Orchard, start one, bench one, cut one. I did 3 versions on air. I think I have to revise again probably before the end of the show because you can't cut Snacks. He was too productive for 4 years. What am I doing? What is wrong with me? Austin Rich, Utah cheer coach, to talk about an upcoming charity golf tournament. A friend of the show and someone we see a lot of down here at Broadway Media. You have to get in on this, Austin. You got to do a start bench cut. Bradley and I, Hunter Dimmick, Nate Orchard, who you starting, who you benching, who you cutting?
Well, that's a hard question because, I mean, if you look at it, we talked about the years that these players played. So, as far as, term at Utah, you got to look at that too as well. And it's hard for me to cut Nate, obviously, because he is the mayor of Sac Lake City.
Correct.
He's such a great ambassador of the community. And I actually did serve my mission in Ghana with one of his younger brothers, Nick.
Oh, no way.
So he may be mad if I was to cut Nate.
Okay.
So that would be tough. But Demick was a beast too as well. Great linebacker. And then Bradley and I just came off the edge as, powerful. So that's definitely a tough one. I would probably cut. I would say you'd have to come back to me on that. I probably have to do a little more research.
That's exactly
my thought would change.
This is exactly what happened to me. I was like, okay, this is what I got to do. And then you look at the numbers again, and you remember that the whole body of work. I mean, Nate was at that 2014 season. He had 18.5 sacks, and not only did he have 18.5 sacks, he dominated the best players in the country. He had his best game that year was against Andres Pete, who ended up being a first-round draft pick at offensive tackle and is still a starting tackle in the NFL. And Nate made him look bad playing for Stanford, right? You can't cut that guy. You probably can't even bench that guy. But he really was most productive for Utah for 2 seasons. Those other guys had 4 years worth of numbers. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this charity golf tournament going on for Utah Cheer. Give me the details. When's it happening? Where's it happening?
Yeah, so every year, the Spirit team, which consists of obviously the cheerleaders, the dance team, and our favorite mascot, Swoop, we do a charity golf event August 7th. So that's in about 2 weeks. We do it at Old Mill Golf Course. It's a 7:30 shotgun start. So if you're interested in playing in a really fun tournament, supporting the Spirit team, because all proceedings do go back to those athletes for, whether scholarships, new equipment, different things like that. So it's a really fun tournament. We do a lunch. We do a great raffle with a bunch of awesome prizes, Traeger grills, things like that. So if you're, interested in doing something like that, coming out and golfing, feel free. You can register to golf. Or if you have a business out there that you want to sponsor a hole, we're also looking for, businesses who want to sponsor a hole, come out there and make it a good time. So if you are interested in doing that, you can just visit utahspiritcamps.com. That will have all of our, charity events, all of our fundraisers. We will have, during the season, a really fun one that a lot of people kind of miss out on. It's our mini spirit clinic. So if you have any, young kids, guys out or gals that are interested in coming and learning some kind of fun dance, some kind of routine, we do perform that at halftime. That's going to be at the home opener against Cal Poly too as well. And that information will be on that utahspiritcamps.com page probably in the next 2 weeks for that football season mini spirit clinic.
Any dancer, cheerleader, age 6 to 15, you can sign up for the home opener September 6th against Cal Poly. Discounted tickets available to parents. UtahSpiritCamps.com. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is cheer as an NCAA sport? Previously, they were not affected by the eligibility rules that like football was.
Yeah, so it's technically we're under athletics, but we're not under the NCAA guidelines. So that's kind of where like NIL gets a little different because you don't. There's not really, as a cheerleader, some of them have great followings on social media, but there's not really an NIL.
For sure.
Like what you can't say, hey, they're part of the NIL, they're part of the NCAA. So it's kind of hard for us to kind of figure out how we as a Spirit team can raise money and give back to those athletes. So I'm actually working with a company creating a apparel brand that we're basically going to be receiving percentage back off of those sales to go back to the program, which is great. And it's going to be a licensed apparel program through the university. We're going to have some say as coaches and athletes as, the apparel that we want to design, some Spirit team, things like that. So that's been in the works. We're looking at doing like a pre-sale for some of these really cool apparel items in the next couple of weeks leading up to the football season.
That's really cool. And that's, by the way, we've seen that with the Red Rocks, right? They've done their the leotard design things. You can go and you can buy them online. You can go buy them in the store. So the NIL stuff that you see for football, basketball, whatever, it doesn't touch everyone in the athletic department the same.
Correct.
So you guys got to get a little bit more creative.
Yeah, obviously, football, basketball is going to be king when it comes to the, athletics. They're making the money. With us, we're there to support the game day environment. We're there to, be ambassadors of the university. So, when it comes to the budgets, I know we're the latter end of the, the lower tier. We are grateful for the support that the university does give us. So we try and find other ways to raise money for the program, for the athletes. Traveling to these games because we love to go out there and support, obviously, the teams we love. And, we love to, be energetic, excited. If you want us to come out to, one of your businesses or an appearance, we do appearance requests in the summertime. So we're always, out there to, get involved with the community and, however we can help, charity events and things like that, we're willing to come out.
So the golf tournament is a scramble, best ball scramble coming up August 7th, Old Mill Golf Course. 7:30 a.m. shotgun start, as Austin already mentioned. The proceeds do go back to support Utah Cheer, Dance, and the Swoop program. You've got a need for golfers still. So if you want to put together a foursome, let them know at utahspiritcamps.com. If you want to sponsor a hole, find information as well. And then the Mini Spirit Clinic ahead of the Cal Poly home opener. That's for dancers and cheerleaders from ages 6 to 15. So they're going to do a halftime performance at that game?
Yeah, so how that Mini Spirit Clinic works is we have them come a little bit early for the game. We teach them a little bit of a routine. Then they obviously get a ticket to that game, and we do discounted tickets for parents if they want to come, obviously, and support, which we'd love for them to have. The parents do get to come on the field at halftime to watch their kids perform, which is really cool. And it's just a great experience. The kids get a T-shirt. They get to interact with Swoop and cheer and dancers. It's just a fun thing. I know there's a lot of people. I've actually had athletes on my team who showed me pictures of them when they were, that age at a Mini Spirit Clinic that now are on the team.
That's
so it's
full circle.
Kind
That's
of like
cool.
a dream for them, and it just gives those young kids an opportunity to see how it is to perform and get in front of those 55,000 fans.
I imagine for the cheer team, the Spirit team, that doing that kind of outreach, like to pass it on to the next generation, is probably one of the highlights of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a reason why I honestly came back to coach, because I spent 4 years as a cheerleader at the U, gave, all I could to them. The university gave back to me. It was a great college experience. And when I got the opportunity to come back and coach, it was a no-brainer for me just because of how much I loved my experience up there.
Pretty cool. And you can get involved at utahspiritcamps.com. Charity Golf Scramble August 7th at Old Mill. And then the Mini Spirit Clinic. If you've got kids out there that would like to be involved, that's September 6th against Cal Poly. All dancers and cheerleaders ages 6 to 15. No experience required?
No experience required. Obviously, if they're interested in gymnastics, dance, or just want to get involved, send them out.
Austin, before I turn you loose, you wanna go concrete on your start bench cut, or you don't have to. If I were you, I'd be like, nope, I got to go.
I think
I've revised mine 3 times already.
I think what I'll do is off air, I'll come and give you my actual, stats and things like that. So, but I appreciate you having me on. And like I said, if you want to come and support the Spirit team, come out to the golf tournament. And if obviously you have some kids who, love the U, love the cheer team. Have them come out for our Mini Spirit Clinic.
Look, if you don't have plans on going to a game yet this year, and you happen to have kids in this age group, that's your excuse right there. That is the perfect reason to come out September 6th against Cal Poly. Get your kids on the field at halftime. That is an unforgettable memory. They're going to take that with them, and the Swoop will make it fun for them. The cheer team's going to make it fun for them. And I can confidently say that the team that day is also going to make it fun for them by winning that game, right? So that'll be a fun one. Again, utahspiritcamps.com for all the information. Big thanks to Austin for popping in with us. This happened somewhat quietly. Ross Dellinger was reporting on it yesterday. Remember how a couple weeks ago we were talking about, hey, man, collectives are defunct now. Collectives have gone belly up. Guess what? Collectives are back in business, baby. The NCAA and lawyers, #lawyers, they're always involved, had to come to a new agreement on what collectives are allowed to do in college sports. I'll give you the latest next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN Radio Network. Presenting sponsor of the Sean O'Connell Show today and every day is Big Willie's, 1717 South Main Street. This is Utah's sports bar. If there is a golf tournament you want to watch, if there is a UFC fight or a PFL fight that you want to watch, if you're looking for an obscure college football team that nobody else has the broadcast package so you can see their games, maybe you're super into the FCS playoffs, Big Willie's has the television screens, the television packages, the craft food menu, the incredible cocktails, the beer selection to make your sports viewing experience exactly what you want it to be. They've also got the pool hall attached. They take their pool very, very seriously at Big Willie's. They keep the tables in pristine condition, and they provide us hot lunch here on the Sean O'Connell Show from their incredible and varied menu. You like burgers, you like sandwiches, you like salads, you like all the fried stuff. They got tater tots. It really just is an incredible place. And the family atmosphere, I know these people, Big Willie's and Patrick Manos and the guys and gals behind Big Willie's. They've been friends of mine, real friends of mine, since I was in college. Very happy to have them be part of the Sean O'Connell Show. Very happy to have them be our presenting sponsor. And I'm encouraging you to get out there as soon as you can to check out what Big Willie's has to offer. 1717 South Main, tell them OC sent you. All right. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. The College Sports Commission, CSC, the new enforcement body in college sports, overseeing NIL proposals, NIL deals, and all that stuff. As of 2 weeks ago, they put out a public statement saying, hey, collectives, you are not legitimate businesses. You do not provide goods or services to the public, which means you are not a business. That means a college player cannot have a deal with you in order to receive NIL funds. That's not what name, image, and likeness is about. Thank you for your service, collectives. You are out. That was 2 weeks ago. In fact, the College Sports Commission has only really been in power for a month, not even. Okay, it was July 1st when they took things over. And as of yesterday, because of, you guessed it, lawsuits and legal proceedings, the College Sports Commission, to the shock of absolutely no one, has had to adjust their definition of the relationship between collectives and NIL. Now, collectives will be viewed as school-affiliated entities that may or may not actually serve legitimate business purposes, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Collective money is going to keep going to college players. That's what this legal change means. Will the College Sports Commission find a reason to have Kent State's collective not give $12 to some swimmer? Yes, they will do that. In keeping with the long-standing tradition of paltry enforcement at the NCAA level, they're going to find a way to create some arbitrary roadblock for a program that doesn't matter. But what happened was the powerful people involved at the big-time university level, oftentimes those people got involved in the collectives. Look at BYU, look at Utah, look at Texas Tech, look at Stanford, look at Cal, look at USC, look at Alabama. The collectives, the people who ran the collectives, were usually pretty high-profile alum, or they were people who had serious connections in the business and academic communities, and they were put in either as actual operating presidents or put in as kind of face of the company sort of figureheads. But collectives were run by influential people. And then the College Sports Commission came in and said, you guys have no power here. You're done. And those influential people, James Peterson, they don't like hearing that. And the universities and the athletic departments that were benefiting from those influential people now being dedicated to improving college athletics at that particular university, those programs didn't like hearing that either. They didn't like hearing, well, we spent the last 2 years raising a grip of money for this collective, and now you're telling us that we can't distribute these funds to the student athletes that we've already promised them? And by the way, every athlete who lawyered up and was just like, hello, Collective said I was going to get 10 grand a month, and now the collective is not allowed to give me money. Where's that money coming from? All of a sudden, that problem we talked about 2 weeks ago, solved, done. Just took a couple lawyers, some billable hours, the NCAA stepping in and saying, hey, College Sports Commission, your black and white hard line definition of what is a legitimate business and what is not a legitimate business actually is not really working for the college football and college basketball system right now. So how about we just pump the brakes a little bit? How about we back off that just a teensy tiny little bit? And of course, they're like, yeah, okay, I guess we'll have to do that. So the roadblocks.
No spine so far.
The roadblocks have been relaxed or in some cases practically eliminated.
Yeah, this was about the most predictable thing. Not necessarily the result, OC, but the most predictable thing ever was that these collectives and the athletes that were benefiting from the collectives or stood to benefit from these lawyering up and putting pressure on making inroads on making this college sports commission change their tune. It was about as predictable a thing as there is right now. Now, like I said, I don't know if I would have predicted this result exactly, but yeah, like you could see lawsuits or threats of lawsuits coming as soon as they said they made this tried to make these hard and fast rules. Hey, collectives can't be in business anymore.
So what they're doing now, right, is the College Sports Commission is staying involved in what was eventually going to be the nefarious practice of money being laundered effectively through businesses in order to make it a legitimate deal. And I say legitimate based on the College Sports Commission's rule set. Because the language they used before was, hey, you can't offer these kids money unless you have a legitimate good or service that you're providing to the public, right? So the collective would have to go, all right, well, hey, car dealer who donated a bunch of money to our collective to be part of it, instead we're just going to have you give that money directly to the student athlete. Or, hey, wealthy donor who made your money in publishing or whatever, instead of you giving money to the collective, you're just going to have to give money to this car dealership, and that car dealership is now going to give money to the kid. Hey, tech billionaire who has a survey company online,
Just an anonymous one that we don't know anything about.
Instead of giving money to the collective, you're going to have to give money to, I don't know, a pizzeria that might be called Brick Oven or something, and then they're going to give money to the athlete, right? So, like, you were going to have collectives and, the actors involved with them skip the step to make it look legitimate anyway. The College Sports Commission just said, yeah, we got a little bit too excited with our newfound authority. So now you're going to broker those deals, and you're just going to do it within the framework of our College Sports Commission and our NIL Go clearinghouse. And everyone just goes, yep, okay, sounds good. So our collective money is something we can distribute? Yes, you can. And student athletes can still get the money that we promised them? Yes. And what are you going to do? We're going to give it a thumbs up as long as you make it look like there's some good or service attached to it somehow. All right. We're back to where we were. The leveling of the playing field, ladies and gentlemen, is not going to happen. There's two guidelines that the NIL clearinghouse, NIL Go thing was applying. Is it a legitimate good or service? And Deloitte put together some range of what's acceptable compensation. That, by the way, will be legally challenged, already is being legally challenged. And acceptable compensation is exactly what anyone is willing to pay, just like the free market economy of the United States of America. James Peterson, would you like this plastic knife that I got from the Big Willie's lunch that they delivered earlier today? It's $3,000.
Oh,
Are you willing to pay that for it? Say yes.
absolutely.
Then guess what? That's an acceptable range of price because he's willing to pay it. It's completely arbitrary, all this.
See, listen, I'm still where I was when we thought collectives were going to be banned, right? What was it? You said 10 days ago was when we were talking about this? Week 10 days ago? I'm still where I was there. That I think that long term, that should be how it is.
Yes.
Like we should
it
be
always
having.
was supposed to be this way.
It should be true NIL deals, meaning a business says we want to have this athlete endorse our product or our service.
Yes.
Not, hey, this business owner, wealthy donor who did not make money offering anyone traditional goods or services, like, for example, the Texas Tech oil guy. Like, you can't say, oh, we're having so and so endorse our oil company.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any practical sense, right? But having that guy say, I'm going to give $30 million to this collective, and then you guys then the head football coach, and I'll have a little bit of say too, are going to decide how that gets dispersed to the whole team. Like, that's not an NIL deal. That's paying guys to be part of your program, right? So
Yeah.
I think long term, what the College Sports Commission tried to do at the very beginning is the right avenue. You just, because we already had this infrastructure with collectives, and because they already made promises all off season long that they were going to get money from these collectives, you just can't do that right away, unfortunately. So
Well,
I hope that the commission grows a spine, grows a backbone, and says, hey, eventually this is how it's going to be. In fact, we're going to give you 2 years to get your ducks in a row, and then we're going to enforce what we said we're going to enforce. But it doesn't appear to be the case. It appears that they just laid down and said, you know what, we were wrong. Go back to operating as you did before, and we will never bring this up again. Which it's troubling to me long term.
Here's the thing. The loopholes were already built in over the last couple of years by the lawsuits that happened and by the old system. That is, I call it an old system. It was a brand new system that they tried to change overnight, and everyone who is going to be regulated by that system said, no. Every agent, every player, every person who was involved whose money was suddenly going to go from the millions down to the hundreds of thousands was like, actually, no, we're not going to take that quietly. So the loopholes are built in, and now this College Sports Commission, despite whatever best intentions may or may not have existed, just doesn't have the teeth necessary. And that was our number one question when power was handed over July 1st. Will they have the teeth? Well, the answer 2 weeks, 3 weeks later is no, they don't. There's plenty of bark. There's absolutely no bite. And the College Sports Commission can't do jack to try to put this genie back in the bottle. Now, if you want to do a deal with the collective, the College Sports Commission is just going to have to be told and sent some photo proof or something like that, that you showed up and did an autograph signing, or that you made an appearance at a youth camp, or that they put your face on a T-shirt and that was provided to some individual somewhere.
Or at Ryan Smith's next Qualtrics survey he sends out, your picture is somewhere on the survey.
Literally. That's because it's name, image, and likeness. You could be like, this is the James Peterson poll on what we should name the Utah Hockey Club. And guess what? Now you can pay James Peterson whatever you want to pay him.
And you absolutely need to, because I did not give you consent to use my name, image, and likeness without compensation.
Yeah. Hate to break it to you, James.
Come on now.
Doesn't matter. So, yeah, that's the way it's going. That's the way it is. The level playing field is a myth. It always was, and it always will be. The teams with the money are going to find ways to get that money to players. They used to do it with bags of cash, and then they did it legally and above board in a new system, And now they're doing it legally and above board in a system that has hardly changed despite all of these efforts for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Same organization, different initials is my takeaway from this. NCAA, CSC.
Correct. Yeah.
They're operating the exact same way. No clear good leadership and no clear good planning and just completely laying down whenever anyone puts pressure on them.
That's fun. That's fun, guys.
Love that.
All right. Okay. We're going to take a quick one here in just a minute, but wanted to put the finishing touches on that conversation with reported by Ross Dellinger that collectives, which for about 2 weeks were being told to disband and dismantle and tear down and move things out of the office, are now back in business. They're back up, and it's like that old meme from The Wire. I want you to tell everyone we back up. All right? Nothing's changing. And maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I've told you about a new partner we have here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Jeremy Lieber of Uncommon Education Trading is helping out our listeners who maybe are interested in day trading. Maybe you've dabbled. Maybe you've thought about it. Maybe you're just looking for a second income, or maybe you're looking to get out of the rat race and you want to make this your primary income. Uncommon Education Trading has some answers for you. Jeremy joins us now on the show to talk about it. Jeremy, how are you?
Doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. You wanna do a little start bench cut? It's a really hard one today for Utah football.
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what. As an avid Utah fan, I am just excited that we have the team we have. It's been an injury-riddled couple of years, last few years. So really looking forward to the young talent and some of the guys that have come over in the transfer portal. Really, really excited, honestly, for the upcoming season.
All right. Well, so you're buying Utah football, right? You're buying low, and we if we want, we can sell it high eventually. I think that's how the stock market works.
We're hoping for all-time highs. The stock market's at all-time highs right now, so we're hopeful that the Utah football program is going to be the same.
I feel like day trading, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like when you're talking about taking on something new, the hardest part is the first step for a lot of people. How do I start learning jiu-jitsu? How do I figure out if I can actually, learn how to play the guitar? It feels like that first inroad is the most difficult step to take. Am I wrong there?
No, you're 100% right. And just like most things, it's just trying to find out where to start, right? As an example, if you Google or search on YouTube how to start day trading, it is overwhelming and it's almost chaotic as far as where do you start? What's the process? What program should you even go with? What app or brokerage account should you open? There's so much, noise around it. And so what we've done at Uncommon Education Trading is we've organized the chaos, and it's kind of your one-stop shop. You want to learn how to day trade in the stock market. We start from square one, which is what the stock market even is. We show you how to set up your account and, the steps that go through opening a brokerage account. And just like most things as well, it's not as difficult as people think. You can trade with as little as a couple $100 if you have to your name. The strategies and understanding the key concepts of it are fairly simple. It's just something that's relatively unknown, and that's kind of where our name of Uncommon Education is. Look, these are things that you probably wish you would have learned in school but didn't, and we've created a good way for you to get started with no previous experience.
Well, one of the things that we all come to regret about school is that you realize that you know all about the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, but you can't pay your own taxes, right? They never show you how to do the things that you're going to need to do as an adult. And it's great to learn the reasons why, and it's great to learn all the information behind things, but one of the most difficult things is putting whatever you learn into practice. So at Uncommon Education Trading, correct me if I'm wrong, you're actually showing people how to trade. Like, I can watch you make trades with real money, and you're going to make that part of my education.
100%. And I kind of compare it to learning to read music, right? If someone who doesn't know how to read music or play the piano steps up to a piano, it's probably not going to sound very good when they try to play it. Well, it's the same thing in the stock market. Once you learn the actual technical and fundamental analysis of reading charts, and we do so in a very, very simple way. Look, I'm a simple guy, so I always tell people if I can do it, really anyone can. And as part of our programs, you get a live trade with me, so I will show you my screen and actually execute trades so you can watch me implement the strategies we teach. We go into everything from, managing your account, what, strategies as far as entries and exits we look for, how to have proper risk management, which is huge, and everything in between. And it's a really fun community full of people who are all wanting the same thing, a little bit more out of life, abundant mentality, kind of freedom over wealth. And it just so happens that, once you get good, you can actually make a pretty good living doing it as well.
What's the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you at Uncommon Education Trading?
So our two easiest ways is on our Instagram account, Uncommon Education Trading, or our website, which is uncommoneducationtrading.com. And we actually have links where you can book a call with me directly. We have different mentorship programs. We actually have a pretty big one coming up here on Monday, starting on July 28th. We have pre-recorded videos you can have access to, very introductory, free, and $20 classes to just get your feet wet, and everything really in between. So either our Instagram page or our website, you can schedule a call with me directly, and I'd love to chat and give you more information as far as what it is that we offer and do here at Uncommon.
Jeremy, look forward to our next conversation. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate you.
Thank you, and go Utes.
Jeremy Lieber from Uncommon Education Trading, uncommoneducationtrading.com. Check him out on Instagram or on the website. If you've ever been interested in stock trading, day trading, dabbling in the stock market, or maybe even making that a career, now's the time. Wrapping up the Sean O'Connell Show. We're giving some things away. We have $25 gift card to Big Willie's. I might have a ticket or two as well. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. One more segment next on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. 877-353-0700. That's the text line if you want to win $25 gift card to Big Willie's and 2 tickets to Dierks Bentley, July 31st at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Start bench cut today is a tough one. Nate Orchard, Bradley and I, Hunter Dimmick, start one, bench one, cut one. The trivia question comes from Hunter Dimmick's stat line. He is the runner-up all-time in sacks at the University of Utah. What is his career total sack number? 877-353-0700. Whew, it was a mess. Start bench cut today. Spence Checketts and the drive are coming up. So I'm gonna invite you into my mess. Start one, bench one, cut one. Spence.
I don't want to play because you guys almost got my ass kicked the other day.
How so?
Somebody told, I believe it was our fearless leader, our program director. Somebody told Chase Hansen that I benched him because I did. And then he came in studio, and Chase is a big guy.
Yeah.
It would take a lot for me to be able to get out of that situation. So I don't want to play. What if Bradley and I comes in and kicks my ass all of a sudden? That's a good. This might be your best one to date, though. Actually,
it's nearly impossible.
It is
because none of them deserve to be cut.
Right.
Actually, none of them even deserve to be benched.
Yep.
All of them deserve to start.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you have to decide whether 4 years of production matters most to you, whether the best sack year that we've ever seen at Utah matters most to you, whether those individual performances, the game-changing moments, matter the most to you. I ended up basically doing every iteration possible.
Yeah,
so.
It's tough. I'm inclined to start Nate because he advertises on the station, and he's awesome. But it feels like in a vacuum, Bradley may be the most talented of the three.
Okay.
Nate had the best individual season that still stands, and Hunter probably has the best over. This might be your best one. Hunter might have the best overall body of work.
It's really, really tough.
That's tough.
So, yeah, Spence won't play, which is probably the right decision to make. My final answer on start bench cut was lost in time. So don't go back and listen to it because I don't even remember what I landed on after giving like 3 or 4 different versions.
Yeah, especially with these position groups. Like I'll play with the kickers. We already did that.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm not afraid of any of them. But DNs and linebackers, and especially if they're going to be guests of the show, as somebody who made a living with his fist once upon a time, what's the best? Like if Chase was really mad at me and decided that he was going to kick my ass, what's my move? What do I do?
Just call your loved ones.
No, you got to give me better advice than that.
You just say, "Hey, this is not going to go well for me."
Well,
no,
not
Spence,
even
you got to learn jujitsu, man.
Not even a strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir. No advice.
A little throat punch might buy you some time.
Okay, that's all. Because then I've just got to run. I've got to try to disable him and then run. He's like 6'4", 230.
Jab a thumb into his eye.
Chase looks like he could still play right now.
Captain Insano on them, right?
There we go.
Waterboy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, at the end of the day, you got to learn. Over years, you got to learn a self-defense system that actually makes sense.
Okay. Well, I'll get on that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Everyone should. Public service announcement. Everyone should at least engage in some level of martial arts. I tell people this all the time. If you have 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
None, 0 at all.
Mm-hmm.
You probably think you can handle yourself, and the answer is most of the time you can't, but you do have a chance against someone else who also has 0.
Right.
If you give yourself like 6 months of learning on how to wrestle a little bit, learn 1 takedown, 1 choke in jiu-jitsu, maybe spend 6 months kickboxing and learn how to throw a good jab cross.
Okay.
Now you're capable against like 85% of the population.
85%.
Because very few people actually know what they're doing. Very, very, very few.
I got a good right cross.
Actually know what they're doing. So
I have a good right cross.
like just give yourself 6 months and then you climb up the ladder. If you give yourself several years, now you got a chance against probably anybody. If you give yourself a decade plus, you're probably going to be safe in 90% of 99% of situations.
Do you still spar at all? Do you still fight at all?
I don't hardly ever spar even when I do train because there's just no reason to get hit in the head anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of fun, so every once in a while I'll do it. When I do train, which is not often enough, it's mostly just grappling now.
Mm-hmm. It's great exercise.
Oh, it's the best workout.
Yeah.
It's way more fun than getting on a treadmill. But
Yeah, when Trevor Riley was in studio, have you ever had a road rage incident when somebody tried to get you to pull over and you step out of the car and they realize what they've done?
No.
It happened to Trevor. So Trevor and his uncle were driving in California. There was a bunch of traffic. Everybody started taking the shoulder. And Trevor cut somebody off, and he did the whole, like, I'm going to go around you and then slam on the brakes, and then told Trev to get out of his car. And this gentleman stepped out of his car, and then Trevor stepped out of the car. I will give the guy a little credit, because instead of doing what he should have done, and that is get back in the car and get home to your family, he actually engaged. And Trevor said he just, gave him like 2 or 3 quick ones. The guy was like, all right, we're good here.
Lesson learned.
It'd be a horrifying experience if that's the deal. You pull over and he was playing in the league at the time. He was with the Jets. This NFL linebacker steps out of the car. Don't do the road rage thing. We're all just trying to get home to our families.
Yeah, road rage is a bad idea.
It is.
There's too many weapons involved now, and there's too many people who are bigger, stronger, and faster than you.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's never a good idea. Just, you'll give yourself an extra 30 seconds. You don't need to be tailing everybody or try to get people pulled over. Let's be safe out there.
Well, look, you've successfully avoided calling a start bench cut. I admire your filibustering. Well done.
It is potentially the best one you've come up with.
Bradley and I, you're cut. Wait, nope, can't do it. Nate, you're cut. Nope, can't do that either.
None of them feel right.
Hunter Dimmick, you are cut.
Of those 3, who would be the most terrifying to get into a road rage incident with?
Hunter Dimmick, because Hunter has done some grappling.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he is like 275 pounds of farm boy country strong.
Okay.
That is going to make your life miserable.
My rule usually is avoid the polys, but the country boy is strong guys as well.
He's a Polynesian with no melanin.
Okay.
That's Hunter Dimmick would be a massive, massive problem, because not only is he freakishly strong, but now he actually knows where to put the weight.
Yeah.
What to grab and twist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's done some. Actually, Matt Martinez, I don't want to take up too much of your show. But,
yeah, you're good.
But Matt Martinez, the former linebacker at the University of Utah, is a part owner in a jiu-jitsu gym at the south end of the valley, and he's successfully pulled a lot of those former Utes into that training environment.
Smart, yeah.
And yikes.
Yeah.
Like, those guys, they're big, they're strong, they're fast, they have work ethic, and now they have some tools. So Hunter would be the worst one to run into. Although Bradley, that would suck also.
Yeah, it's not like Nate would be fun. You know what? They're all starting. They all start.
Congratulations to all of you starting, every one of you. Stay tuned for the drive. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. Everybody be safe, be happy, take care of each other for the Pioneer Day weekend. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.